Andrews visited Studio 1A this morning, and later we're going to celebrate the birthday of a Hollywood icon, Meryl Streep. It's all ahead, but let's start with today's Pop Start headlines from Chanel.
Can we talk about Stranger Things?
Yes. Okay.
A new trailer is out for Volume 2 of the hit series' 4th season, and it features, you guessed it, in honor of Savannah, Kate Bush's breakout 80s jam, Running Up That Hill. The second half of this season is being broken down into 2 super-sized episodes. Okay, so if you're a fan, the first will run an hour and 20 minutes, and the finale is slated for a whopping 2 hours and 20 minutes. And look at this. By the looks of the new trailer, fans can expect Season 4 to continue bringing on the darkness as the Hawkins gang takes on Vecna in the Upside Down.
But I have this terrible feeling. It might not work out for us this time.
It is over. Now I just want you to watch.
Okay, so apparently you're going to want to sleep with the lights on after this one. Volume 2 starts streaming July 1st on Netflix.
I started season 4.
Yes.
It's solid.
Yeah, so good. Everybody says it's dark.
Very dark.
Very dark.
Very.
But everybody who
Lots of
watches it
characters.
loves it. All right, next up, Michael J. Fox. Yesterday, the beloved actor was named on the Oscars list of honorary recipients for this year's Governor's Award. This fall, Fox will receive the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award for his advocacy work with Parkinson's disease and research. The actor was diagnosed with the condition more than 30 years ago. He was 29 at the time. In a statement, the Academy praised Fox, saying his, quote, boundless optimism exemplifies the impact of one person in changing the future for millions. I like that. Fox will receive his Oscar alongside fellow honorary recipients, filmmaker who's on Policy, musician Diane Warren, and director Peter Weir. The Governor's Awards are scheduled for November 19th. All right, next up, Legacy, the true story, I know, of the LA Lakers. The Lakers are back in the small screen spotlight. This is a new docuseries. It's headed to Hulu following HBO's wildly popular scripted show, Winning Time. That one, starring Quincy Isaiah, John C. Reilly, and Adrian Brody. LA's real ballers are taking center stage in this new project. Again, it's called Legacy. It's set to follow the rise of real estate tycoon Jerry Buss's Showtime-era team and explore the drama they faced on and off the court. So the first trailer is packed with some of the franchise's biggest names. LeBron James, Shaquille O'Neal, Magic Johnson, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, just to name a few. Take a look.
They would turn down the lights and say, it's showtime.
It wasn't showtime. It was greatness.
Jerry Buss was the director, Magic's the star, and it was a huge hit.
It was so simple.
We have a terrific team if we just play the right way.
Dr. Buss came up with the Laker girls.
And all of a sudden, there was entertainment all through the league. I can't think of any other owner who has made such an impact on the NBA.
And then the business of basketball kicked in.
There's a family feud brewing over who will run the Los Angeles Lakers.
There's never enough success to go around.
That's what it is. It is the real life succession.
There you go.
Sorry, you sold.
And see, a lot of people don't know about what happened behind the scenes, right?
Constant family drama.
Yeah.
Constant family drama.
Well, so no official release date has been announced. It's a 10-part series. 10 parts.
Like The Last Dance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's
told me
right.
to watch it. I never regret it.
You remember that? It was like
so
must-see
good.
TV.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, let's talk about the Minions. Steve Carell's worlds are colliding in a new featurette with the lovable little yellow guys. Carell's animated character Gru and the whole Minion gang recreated The Office's famous opening credit sequence, but there's a twist. They've turned the Scranton Paper Company into Dunder Minion Evil Company Incorporated. Take a peek. That's cute. That's cute.
Brilliant.
So, Minions, The Rise of Gru is in theaters next month. And coming up, we'll have much more on the film. One of the stars, Dame Julie Andrews. She'll be here live. You guys are talking.
We got a little sneak peek of Minions. It's great. It's really good.
My kids loved it too. I heard them laughing out loud. Funny. All right, finally, Beyonce. Following Break My Soul's release, Beyonce's new single is breaking the internet. In just the last 24 hours, The Beehive has been lighting up social media and praising the dancing track from her upcoming album, Renaissance. Actress Kerry Washington echoed the cries of the masses, simply tweeting, "Praise Bee." Grammy and Oscar-winning drummer Questlove put his stamp of approval on the track, writing online, "This, Craig, is the song of the summer."
We called it yesterday.
That's what you said. And guys, even former First Lady Michelle Obama jumped in, tweeting, "Queen Beyonce, you've done it again. Break My Soul is the song we all need right now, and I can't help but dance and sing along while listening to it." Have you had a chance to hear it?
Yes, I have. It's a terrific song, and I think it really speaks to how everyone's feeling in this moment. It's like it's time to turn the beat around.
And find
that's what
some joy.
Yes.
It's about joy.
She's got it. She's found it. She's found it.
While you were talking about finding the joy, look who just...
More joy.
Yay!
Look who stepped into the studio.
She's here.
Right.
Hello, everybody.
Good morning. Come on.
Hello.
Oh, your twins were
I know. I wanted to dress like twinning.
Oh, well, how did we know?
We are so happy to have you visiting us today. We have so much to talk about. You got an incredible honor just a couple of weeks ago, 2 years in the making.
I did.
A lot to discuss, but we'll be back with Miss Julie in just a little bit. And you're working with the Minions too. So much to talk about.
That's the latest you need to know from today. Still to come, we're catching up with Ed Helms and his Rutherford Falls co-stars.
Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to Pop Start Plus. The Peacock show Rutherford Falls follows the goings-on in a small northeastern town that borders a Native American reservation. It's been touted as a breakthrough in representation on and behind the camera with 6 Native writers. And the cast told us why their storytelling is so important.
Rutherford Falls, in a nutshell, is...
It's a small northeastern town with some kind of colonial pride that exists on the border of the fictional Minnetonka Reservation. The communities interact with each other, and they work together, and they have conflicts as well.
The show kind of dives into the politics behind whose land is whose and who founded the town.
I think it is something where it's like there's a wonderful small town comedy, but within that there's incredible themes of revisionist history and native joy and reclaiming identity and redefining identity. It's a really, there's a lot of complex themes, but that just gets delivered in a palatable, lighthearted, hilarious, and heartfelt comedy.
A bunch of years ago, Lawrence Rutherford wrote and signed a legally binding agreement with the Minnetonka. That's why this town exists. That's why all of you exist. Okay? Lawrence Rutherford is our forefather. He's our Adam and Eve, our Tigris and Euphrates. And that statue, which sits on my family's land, commemorates all that he gave us. you don't get that, well, you're just an ungrateful boob. Yeah.
I think in season 1, we, explored the Nathan character and this concept of his legacy. We kind of blow it up by the end of the season. And you also watch characters like Terry and Regan really level up and get what they've been sort of fighting for many, many years. And so in season 2, it's a real kind of fun exploration of what does it feel like when you're starting from scratch and you have to kind of build a legacy for yourself, and then also what happens when you do have it all and get what you want, and is that sometimes harder than having to start over again. We really leaned into the ensemble. I feel like we really got to explore and find out how funny these characters are and different dynamics that we enjoyed and dynamics we hadn't tried yet. And so it's a real sort of, there's a lot of romance and a lot of silliness this year, and I'm just really excited for people to see it.
I think that comedy is inviting. To generate laughter for people is a gift. I think also, specifically for Native people and Native storylines, we have been relegated to drama historically in this industry. And so it's been actually very fun and easy to elevate us into a comedy space and to utilize the writing of other Native comedians and non-Native comedians.
I always think of this quote from Judd Apatow where he said, when someone's laughing, it's the only time I'm sure that they don't hate me. And so, or something like that. I might have butchered it a little bit, but it speaks to a greater beauty and truth about comedy, and especially comedic storytelling, which is you can tell stories about awful characters or characters that make awful mistakes, and Nathan certainly is that, and Regan is that at times. But if you're keeping the audience laughing, then they're also kind of empathizing, and they're also connecting, and they're not hating that character for making these mistakes. And that's, I think, a very powerful thing that without articulating it that clearly, we have strived for in making Rutherford Falls.
One of the details that I love this season, I mean, the show in general is so great, and it's Sierra spearheading, obviously, but all of the writers, there's 6 Native writers on the staff, and all of them as well, are reaching out to their communities to bring in art from their various communities and just sort of connections that they have.
As an Indigenous actor, frankly, as an actor of color, I think Hollywood positions us to be sort of, in a way, guardians of cultural authenticity. With Rutherford Falls, I was placed in a position where I didn't have to do that. The writing was authentic. The writing came from our communities. So that allowed me to sort of just really be a better actor. To be very clear, all the success, that I've had, as an actor, being recognized for my work on season 1, came because Sierra and the rest of the creators were shouldering the load, carrying things that would allow Jana and myself and the other Indigenous actors to really just level up. So I'm so grateful for that.
I feel like when it comes to Native stories on television that's made by non-Native people, there's usually an element of hold for applause, or it just feels like homework, and you're just like, oh god. And we always were let's avoid kind of feeling, at every turn. And so in our lives as Native storytellers, I find that often very complex things will happen to us, and they'll be coupled with comedy. And I always was like, if we could just tell our story as we experience it, I think people will not only get a real view into our experience, but they'll also be very entertained and will find it funny. Once Native people are in on the joke, it's a really wonderful experience for any viewer coming into the show.
So awesome to hear from those folks. We should mention Rutherford Falls is available on Peacock, which is part of our parent company, NBC Universal. Up next, a beloved icon, Julie Andrews.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCnews.com/planyourvote today.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Hey, who's this?
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to Pop Star Plus. You know it's going to be a good day when you're in the presence of Julie Andrews. And earlier today, she stopped by Studio 1A to talk about her legendary career, including her latest role in Minions, The Rise of Gru. Check it out.
The legendary Julie Andrews is known for her iconic roles in The Sound of Music, Mary Poppins, and The Princess Diaries. Well, now she's back in a role that's not like her other ones. She's voicing Gru's mother in Minions, The Rise of Gru. And let's just say, she's not the most nurturing mother in the world. Take a listen.
Mom, who is this sweaty guy? He's stinking up the house. I thought you were cooking cabbage.
He's my new guru. Tell your weird buddies they better stop pulling their weight around here, or I'm kicking them out. They are killing my mellow vibe.
Oh my gosh, this is so out of character and beautiful and lovely. Was it fun playing the character?
She's the worst mother ever. And it's sort of fun to do in a way.
Yeah. How did you get into that character? That's the opposite of you.
I think Steve Carell helped a great deal because I listened to his voice and what he sounded like, and he'd already decided before I came aboard. So I thought, well, I'd better be a sort of version of what he is, because we obviously come from the same place, and I raised him sort of. And so I chose a sort of middle European odd voice.
I kind of love that accent.
I have no idea what I'm doing, but there she is.
I loved watching you get your American Film Institute Lifetime Achievement Award.
Thank you.
It was a beautiful moment, and it was made even more beautiful because there was a moment where all the Trapp Kids came out.
I know.
Can we please just show this clip? Because
there's only 5 of them. There were, of course, 7 children, but we are missing 2, sadly. They passed.
Well, it was so...
Look at them, look.
And it was a sing-along. I could have picked Friedrich out of a lineup.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, right?
Oh, yes.
What was it like being reunited with them?
But you wouldn't recognize the little baby. That's the beautiful blonde lady there.
Tell me, what was it like being with them again and hearing the song?
We do keep in touch, but not on a really regular basis. I mean, Christmases, maybe birthdays, and certainly get-togethers. But we just bonded so hard that I think we're family anyway.
Well, this song and this movie means so much to so many. When we hear it, we are taken right back.
And to me.
Yeah, tell me what it does mean to you and for you.
Well, it really was it was the most beautifully crafted movie. I mean, the details in the movie, first of all, the scenery, children, songs, music, all of it. But it means very, very many memories, funny ones, real ones, lovely ones, and working with dear Chris Plummer also.
Oh, amazing.
Whom I adored, and we were friends for years.
How old were you when you shot this movie?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I must have been 31, I think.
31 years old.
Yeah.
Wow. Just reflecting on this career and Mary Poppins and an Oscar and all these awards. Do you ever just sit with it all? I know you did at a moment like that, but do you ever?
I did, and was wonderfully surprised by that tribute. But no, I don't think I do. I'm a busy mum, and I'm very busy writing with my daughter that writes books with me, and we've done so many. We've got 3 more coming out in the next year. One's coming out in the fall, actually.
Well, you don't stop with those books. Those are some of the favorites in our house, too. One of the things that surprised one of our cast members, Savannah Guthrie, was she's a Bridgerton freak. What she didn't know, is that the voice of Lady Whistledown, and we're going to play it, who she was. Let's take a listen.
My name is Lady Whistledown. You do not know me, and rest assured you never shall. But be forewarned, dear reader, I certainly know you.
Okay, this is you. Miss Guthrie, are you...
Blown.
She said her
My mind is blown.
You didn't know it was me?
I had no idea, which actually speaks to what a wonderful performance it is.
Yeah.
It's not Julie Andrews, it's Lady Whistledown.
You know, I've never met the company in person. Of course, I see them on the show sometimes, but I do all my own recording far, far away from them.
And do you like you've seen the show? What do you think of that show?
Oh, I think it's gorgeous looking. Yeah, and they're all wonderful in it, and they're lovely people to work with. I mean, Shonda Rhimes and the whole gang down are terrific. So there you are. It's a joy, and I'm thrilled that they asked me. You just played the one line that I always say, because I don't record everything at one time. So to get back into character again, my first warm-up is, my name is Lady Whistledown, you know.
Don't you love it? It's so good. Harry's there too.
But that'll get me back into character if I do it.
Well, you are such a delight, and I would encourage people to listen to the speech that you gave when you got your Lifetime Achievement Award, because you spent your speech and your moment congratulating so many other people who work behind the scenes. It was beautiful and just exactly the way you do it.
I'm so glad you got it. I got it. Where would we be without everybody around us and helping and being wonderful and professional?
You're an amazing human being. We so appreciate you coming to our studio. We love when you're here. Come back with your book.
I'd love to.
You know, and bring your daughter, of course.
Thank you. I'd love to.
What a light, that Julie Andrews. Minions: The Rise of Gru from Universal Pictures and Illumination Entertainment is in theaters on July 1st. Coming up, a 90s throwback you will not want to miss with another legend, Meryl Streep.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCnews.com/plan your vote today.
The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world, because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. The lovely and uber talented Meryl Streep celebrates turning 73 today. She has had so many terrific roles, but today we thought we'd highlight one in particular. Here she is speaking with Today back in 1995 about playing Francesca Johnson in The Bridges of Madison County.
The much-anticipated movie version of Robert Waller's bestseller, The Bridges of Madison County, opens tomorrow, and it's already drawing rave reviews. It's the story of a middle-aged Iowa housewife who meets a globe-trotting photographer while he's on assignment taking pictures of Iowa's covered bridges. In the end, she must make a choice many women may wish they had. Actress Meryl Streep stars with Clint Eastwood. who also directed. Streep says she disliked the book but loved the screenplay. When she sat down with me recently, I asked her how the movie differs from the book.
You know, I get the distinct feeling that I'm lost.
Are you supposed to be in Iowa?
Yeah?
Well, then, you're not that lost. They took the treacle out of it, or whatever was too sweet, and they left what was still powerful and passionate.
How did Clint Eastwood convince you to do it? I know that he has said, I made one call, and it was to you.
Well, first he called my friend and said, how do I get her private number? And of course my friend gave it to him. And so the phone rang in the kitchen, and he said, this is Clint Eastwood. And I said, you know, I thought it was my brother. I said, yeah, sure, get off. And it was. And he said, I just want you to read this. The next morning it arrived, and I called him right back and said I'd love to do it. And I never had a doubt about it again, because, too, in the book, the woman was kind of a cipher. I couldn't get a picture of her. And in the screenplay, she was there. She was there on the first page to the last page, same person. So specific and lovely. And I said, you know, I want to do it. Would you like some iced tea?
Other than specific and lovely, how would you describe this woman, Francesca Johnson?
Francesca is someone whose loneliness is partly because she's been displaced from her childhood and the dreams of her childhood, and placed in a life where she's happy, she's content, and but the palette of her life, the landscape of her life is maybe limited, and she sees the limits of it, and it's the periphery of her property. And when she meets this man who's been all these wonderful places and is the opposite, and when they discover that his yearning is for that warm kitchen, that centeredness that she has, and her yearning is for the other thing that he possesses, the adventure and the endless sort of opportunity.
Make him run around the block howling in agony, study.
She thought she could see it, and she could see the horizon, and suddenly everything changed. And that was very appealing. About 2.5 weeks in, which was halfway through the movie, because we worked very fast, he said, you know, I don't say much, but that means it's good. So I said, so you like it? And he said, yeah. So it was really one of those experiences that's kind of effortless.
Here's a fun fact. Meryl was nominated for the Oscar for her performance in that film. We hope you're having a great birthday, Mrs. Streep. And that is another Pop Start Plus in the books. Join us tomorrow for another great show. Until then, have a good one.
It's Bevy, baby. You may know her as Bevy Smith, the host of Bravo's Fashion Queens, or her podcast, Bevelations. But if you don't know the media maven, allow me to introduce you. Bevy Smith is a brand. She's a Harlem-born powerhouse who rose to the heights of the fashion industry by her 30s. But at age 38, she decided to follow a new path. Since then, Bevy's been a TV host, an author, an actress, an entrepreneur, and at 55, she says she's far from done. Bevy is a master negotiator, a firm believer in her own worth, and living proof that it gets greater later. Every time I sit with you, I feel a different kind of way. But on this particular day, when I sit with you, you are 55 years old. You live your life on your terms. Yeah. And you describe yourself as a late bloomer. Mm-hmm. Why are you a late bloomer, first of all?
Well, I mean, because I think really since like my 20s, people have been telling me that I should be in entertainment. But I was always an advertising person. I was, started out as a receptionist and worked my way up to becoming an advertising executive. And so, entertainment was something that I couldn't really even fathom for myself. And so to then pursue it at the age of 38, and then to really make it happen, and by the time I really kind of garnered any kind of success in the space, I was like 45 years old. I'd say that's a pretty late blooming.
I want to back us up. I picture you as a little girl, and I don't really know exactly in this moment how I pictured you, like in first grade or second grade. How did you imagine yourself growing up?
I grew up in a tenement, so I definitely wanted to live in a high-rise in Manhattan, of course. I wanted to be an executive secretary because I grew up watching all those old 1950s, 1960s movies where being an executive secretary was the height of elegance, sophistication, and success. Because you were the gatekeeper. And actually, Holder, as you know, to a certain extent, that's still very true.
That's still the
now.
case, yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
right?
So you were looking for your profession in life, what to pursue. So what road did you take?
I became a receptionist. I didn't go directly to college. I became a receptionist at an advertising agency called Peter Rogers and Associates. And it was an incredible agency. They had Block Lama Mink. They had Vidal Sassoon. Like Mr. Vidal Sassoon would come into the office.
Oh, wow.
Claudette Colbert would come into the office. Cher came into the office. Like, it was like heady stuff.
Were you like freaking out? Were you like drop jaw?
No, because I was a young, sophisticated Manhattan girl. So my father always brought lots of magazines into the home, and we used to read. Me and my sister were just ferocious readers, and so I knew all these people. I knew all the socialites because we used to read W magazine when there was a broadsheet. I started reading the New York Times when I was like 13. So it's a very interesting thing when you grow up in Manhattan, because I grew up in Harlem, and for your listeners who may not know, Harlem is a part of Manhattan. So for me, my parents always took us into Manhattan proper, if you will. And so I was never kind of, you would always see famous people. To this day, as you know, Holder.
Yeah.
Folks see you all the time. And it's like, hey, girl. And that's the way it is,
I one time walked behind Jerry Seinfeld for 6 blocks just trying to figure out, like, what would it feel like to be him? Because we knew we lived in that kind of neighborhood. And you're right, people hardly even looked up. I was or every now and then a hey, but that's how Manhattan folks do it.
Yes, that's how we do it. And so when I got there, I mean, I was just, I had, my parents instilled this really strong work ethic in us, which is no matter what your job is, no matter how allegedly low it is, you do your absolute best. You don't wait to get a great opportunity. Every opportunity that you're given is a good one, and you make the most of it.
So you did that. So you were a receptionist, and you did it A++.
Oh, yeah, I did A++. So I didn't have to take coats. I didn't have to get coffee, but I did all of that because in my life, I am nothing but a hostess. I am actually a barmaid, and eventually, I will own a bar because I love hosting people in that way. But in my life, that's one of my special gifts. I connect people and I make people feel welcome. And so when you came into my reception area, you were in my living room. Welcome. May I take your coat? Would you like coffee or tea? Again, this was not required of me.
You just did it.
I just did it because I wanted you to be comfortable in my space.
Wow. So you're doing this job and you do it to the nth, like your folks said, but that obviously that was not your goal. So how'd you get a break?
I had these amazing mentors at that agency, and they said that I did not belong up there. I belonged in the back with them, learning a skill. And that's when my life began to change. And I went back to school, and I went to NYU, and then one of my mentors, Jeff McKay, started his own advertising agency, and he brought me along, and he literally said, "What part of advertising would you like to work in?" And I said, "I think account services and media directing, because I love to read."
Yeah.
And so when you're a media director, you get all the magazines in the world. And I said, media directing, but I also knew I was good with people, so account services as well. And he's like, okay.
Welcome back to Today. We got a lot to celebrate on this Wednesday morning. It's good to have you along with us.
You don't know when your moment's coming, but when it does, you take it.
Everybody's good, and that's it.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
Welcome back to Today. We got a lot to celebrate on this Wednesday morning. It's good to have you along with us.
You don't know when your moment's coming, but when it does, you take it.
Everybody's good, and that's it.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
I've been talking about this with all these women I'm interviewing, and almost everyone, including Helen Mirren, Viola Davis, Rita Moreno, they all say that at a bunch of points in their careers, they had imposter syndrome. They don't know I don't know. They don't realize I don't deserve this. I'm pretending. Deep down, not feeling that worth. Did you ever have that?
Okay, so here's the reason why I didn't have it.
You did not.
Hold
no,
up.
this is big. This is big. You did not have it. Okay, good.
I'm going to tell you the truth, Holder. Okay? Because very early on, I thought the key to my happiness was getting married and getting someone to take care of me. So I went to NYU, and I had a career specifically with the reason of trying to secure an amazing husband. Because I watched all those old 1950s, 1960s films, and I realized that if you have a certain pedigree, then you can attract a certain type of man. So me being an advertising executive, me going to NYU is a nice, little patina there, right? And I can secure this guy, and then I don't have to work anymore, and this guy's got to make me happy. So I didn't have imposter syndrome because I wasn't there for the long haul. I wanted to do a good job at my career, but I was not driven. I was not driven.
Now, that's interesting that you had that idea of wanting to secure a man, because to me, we're from the same generation. That actually seems like a little bit before us, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. But I told you, it was all those movies I watched.
Yeah,
and I was
you were into that.
I loved Bewitched, the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yeah, Dick Van Dyke,
when he would come home and she was there in her little pedal pushers, I was like, I want to wear a pedal pusher and wait for, him to come home, honey, from the, the architectural firm or wherever he was working. I wanted those things. I come from a community where women worked. So women were not fighting to work in Harlem. They worked, okay? You were fighting not to work, okay? That was a good life. You don't have to work and you can live nice. You see what I mean? So
I hear
there's the
you.
difference.
100. I hear you 100. Okay. So there you were, advertising exec. I mean, how high, that's called, at one point it was the high life. How high was the life?
Oh, it was the very high life. It was amazing. That's when print media was a king. So I was at all those events and I knew all the people.
Yeah.
And I'm from 150th Street and 8th Avenue in Harlem. And I'm just in these rooms and I'm I'm in the mix.
So you're
in fabulous.
So there you are. I mean, some would call that the mountaintop. Plant the flag.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case for you.
That wasn't the case. I got really very restless. I was very grateful for the opportunities that I had been afforded. And then I was feeling very is this all there is?
Yeah, what was missing?
I think the creativity of it all. I think there was a level of creativity that I was seeking. And it's so interesting that, I didn't want to own it. I think that this is what I went through. You talk about imposter syndrome, and I don't think I had that as much. I had the other thing, which is I wanted to be a creative, but because I worked with creatives so much, I had so much respect for them. And so I didn't feel like I could segue into creativity. I felt very strong and solid in my business acumen and strategy and numbers. But the creativity part, to become a writer, to deal in art and all this different kind of stuff, I suppressed that. Because I knew there was something inkling, a little thing in me. And that's why I kept trying to edge closer to creativity, but still have it be business. And that brought me to becoming the fashion advertising director at Vibe. And that was a really great crossroads for me.
Well, Vibe was incredible. It brought you to Rolling Stone. I mean, now where was the man? That was what you were looking for. What was happening there?
So I was engaged 2.5 times. And the last guy that I thought I was going to marry, I was 33 years old. And when that didn't work out, after I had kind of twisted myself and contorted myself, my being, to be with him, I decided to do some real, kind of introspective work on myself. And that's when the seeds of changing my life really got planted. And that's when I realized I was going to have to make myself happy. And that was a devastating thing to learn, because up until then, I was really banking on the guy to come along and make it all happen.
Well, it sounded like your imposter syndrome was in the relationships early on. Like you were trying to be someone you weren't. You're trying to fit. You were trying to be the puzzle piece that fit him, as opposed to who you were. And I guess you just couldn't contain that. You tried and tried, but you had to be who you were. I
remember telling him, he worked in music. And so he had a sexy career, I had a sexy career. Music and fashion, how great is that? And we would each kind of trade off with the perks of our gigs. It was fabulous. And I remember telling him that when we got married, I didn't want to work. And he was like, well, what are you talking about? It's like, no, we'll get married and I'll have 2 kids, but I can't work. And he was like, well, that's ridiculous. And I was like, no, it's not. I said, I just want to raise, I just want to be in the home. Because I didn't really actually want to raise children. I just didn't want to work. I said, I want to be in the home. And he told me, for the lifestyle that we want, we need 2 incomes. That's not going to work. He was very forthright.
Wow. And what'd you say?
I was devastated. And then I was like, a man can tell you the truth, but you will hear what you want to hear. So I was like, I'll convince him different. I'll change his mind. And he was and good for him.
Yeah.
He knew what he wanted. He wanted someone to be a partner. And I was not looking to be a partner. I was looking to be a dependent.
That's it. That's beautifully put. So you did internal work. What was revealed to you as you were doing this?
That I was far more strong and savvy and capable than I had ever realized. Because I was doing this career stuff, but without giving it much thought. So I was good at it, but it was very kind of innate for me to be good at that. And so it was just kind of like, yeah, I can do that. Sure. Oh, you want me for that? Okay. I didn't really care. And then when I had to realize that I had to make myself happy, I had to actually apply myself. And when I applied myself, I was like, oh,
wow.
Look at you. Wow. You've been selling yourself short.
Wow. And that means knowing your worth. Did you always get paid what you deserved to get paid?
You know, a big part of my job is to negotiate money. So I love to negotiate. I love talking about negotiating money. To this day, I don't like for my agents and managers, because I'm always like, well, did you ask for this? And what about how can we do it this way?
Yeah.
I like to get in it.
Yeah.
So a lot of women don't like to negotiate, and it's one of my favorite things to do.
Being able to say, this is what I feel like I'm worth, is hard for women. You've negotiated. There are women listening right now who are too scared to go in and ask for a raise because what if they say no? What advice do you have for that?
For women, I have to tell you this. It is about knowing your worth. And you have to understand that if you're valued and you're really good at what you do, if they won't give it to you, someone else will. But you have to know that. And you cannot be afraid to leave, and you can't be afraid to say no. You know the way Andy Cohen and I fell in love?
How?
Because when he was just an executive, before he got to TV, he cast me for the Tim Gunn show. Now, this is like nothing against Andy. And they sent me over a contract, and I read it, and I thought it looked really bad. And then I sent it to my lawyer, and he was like, this is really bad. And they were not willing to negotiate. And my lawyer said to me, well, I mean, I guess, you know, you just have to take it. And I said, well, actually, I don't.
Yeah.
And we turned it down. I was fresh out of Rolling Stone. So this was my first audition that I had ever gone on for a TV show, and I got it. And then I had to say no.
Wow.
And I figured, in my mind holder, well, obviously if they wanted me, someone else will. Now here's the cautionary tale.
What?
It took 7 years to get another dang TV show. Okay? But here's the happiest
what's the
part
lesson?
of it.
Yeah, what's the lesson there?
The lesson is this. So I didn't get the TV show. It took 7 years to get an actual show. But because I didn't get the TV show, I created a business called Dinner with Bevy, which has fueled my life and my relationships with celebrities like you would not believe. But if I had gotten that job, I would have never created Dinner with Bevy, and my trajectory would be totally different.
It's a can't-miss summer on Today.
They are walking strong, elegant, and pretty easy to prepare.
How to cut costs on your vacation? Vicky has the answers.
Every single thing you need for the best summer yet.
Only on Today.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to Today. We got a lot to celebrate on this Wednesday morning. It's good to have you along with us.
You don't know when your moment's coming, but when it does, you take it.
Everybody's good, and that's it.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate
it. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Life changes Sometimes you're forced to change because of circumstance, and sometimes you choose to. You're working at Rolling Stone. You could have ridden that train. A lot of people don't want to switch, because if I switch, oh no, oh my God, I don't know. What if it doesn't? A million reasons why it's scary and maybe no. Were you scared to jump?
It was never my intention to stay there. So I went there with a real game plan that I would go there, succeed incredibly well, hit all my numbers so I would get my full bonus. And then at the end of the year, when I got my bonus, I would quit. And getting to Rolling Stone, it was worse than I could have ever fathomed. And my best friend, who's also my business partner now, I used to call her every morning and say, I can't do this. And she would be like, well, you can, because you have an end date. So stick it out. Because I had a literal end date. It was like, when they give me my bonus check, once I put it in the bank and it clears, then I can resign.
So there it was. It was time to jump. Did you leave because there was another opportunity, or did you just not have anything and you just were hoping?
Well, I wasn't hoping, though, Holda. I just knew. See, I think a hope is like, I hope so. But I knew I was made for this. I knew I could do it. I just knew it. I was very firm. Wow. And then when I got that job at Bravo, that was the high five. That was the confirmation, of course. And I turned it down, and then, okay.
So how did you make do? Because sometimes after a year, obviously, you had to make a living. What did you do in between?
I was broke but blissful. That's the name of that chapter, Broke but Blissful. I was really broke, but I was really happy.
How come?
Because immediately I started doing TV stuff. Immediately I started writing for major publications. So I was doing everything that I actually quit my job to do. The money just had not caught up yet. But for me, I believe in the universe, right? So I'm like, well, the universe is actually telling you made the right choice. Because everything that you set out to do, you're actually doing it. You're just not making any money at it yet. But the money will come. I really believe that. And so then I had to scale back. I'm very candid about this. I used to go to Milan and Paris 6 times a year, flying first class, staying at the best hotels, in a suite, car and driver the entire time I'm there, heady stuff. So in my neighborhood, people would see me coming out of town cars with all of my luggage and the people helping me and all the shopping bags and all the things. Now all of a sudden, I'm in this new life and I'm trying to make a go of it. And instead of town cars, there's an amazing bus stop right across the street from where I live. And now I'm staying at the bus stop. And there's a barbershop on my corner. And one day, one of the barbers says, hey, Bev. And I walk over and he's like, you okay? I was like, no, I'm great. He's like, you sure? Because, I see you taking the bus now. I was like, oh, no, I'm changing my life. I quit my big fancy job and now I'm trying to do entertainment, TV and stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, okay.
Did that not chip away at your self-esteem?
No. You know why, Holda?
Why?
Because remember, I'd already gotten that big offer from Bravo that just had no money attached to it. I was already writing for Interview, for Paper Magazine, for Glamour, for Essence. I was on VH1, I was on BET, I was doing all these things.
Right, you were busy.
Clearly, I was made for this. People just didn't want to pay me yet.
Yeah.
So that's why I was never cowed by that.
So when did the money catch up? When did they finally go, oh, okay, it's time?
Andrew Cohen kept trying to find different things for me to do with him. Come and shoot this pilot. Come and be a part of this show.
Wow.
Different things. 7 years. And then finally one day, he was doing Watch What Happens Live with Bethany Frankel. And he had me and Bethany do a pilot together for some show that didn't go. So he said, Bevy, can you be a guest bartender? But Bethany sees me behind the bar. She's like, Bevy! And so then she calls me out from behind the bar.
Oh, geez.
We're having the best time.
Love it.
It's amazing. Andy says, after that's done, I think I got the show for us to do together. And that show was Fashion Queens. And I said, well, I'm on a holding deal with BET. He's like, it's a benefit for BET for you to be on Bravo too. He's like, let's let the agents figure that part out.
Right. Yeah.
Are you interested? I said, sure. And so that's when the money started catching up.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months. Exactly. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Hey, who's this?
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
It's a can't miss summer on Today.
They are walking strong, elegant, and pretty easy to prepare.
How to cut costs on your vacation? Vicky has the answers.
Every single thing you need for the best summer yet.
Only on Today.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
You talk about like fulfilled dreams, and some of them they weren't even dreams. They just happened, it seems like.
Yeah.
What's still left to be fulfilled?
I love that question. And this is what I want to say to all of the ladies out there who are maybe feeling like, and it's really a mindset. It really doesn't have to do with a specific number. But if you are over the age of 50 and you feel like, well, that ship has sailed, I'm here to tell you. And you're watching Holden every day, so you know she's here to tell you too. It gets greater later. At the age of 55, I have just become an actress. I just did a show on Amazon Prime called Harlem. I was called in to do 3 lines, and it turned into 3 scenes. And now there's a season 2, and they've invited me back. So I'm an actress at the age of 55. I love art. It's something that's always been my passion. It's something that I've been talking about doing for a long time. And at the age of 55, there's a film starring Mahershala Ali and Naomi Harris called Swan Song that's on Apple TV. And I actually did the art curation for the home in that film. And so the next thing I want to tackle is architecture. I travel the world just to see architecture that I love. So marrying my love of architecture with travel, with my dinner parties and all these things. And then finally, my goal is to do a Fairy Godmother TV show because I'm a connector. That is my gift. I'm a connector, I'm a guide, and I'm a teacher. And I want to do a show that's like Shark Tank meets Ayanla Fix My Life. And I'm going to help you get your business started. I'm going to help you scale to the next level.
Love it. Now, what about the love piece?
Okay, Holder. Holder girl. She's open. She is single and always ready to mingle. I'm very, very open, and I'm trying to be very intentional about getting my great guy. What I will say about that is this. I have a very different take on love than I ever have in my life. And my take on love is this. I want to be in a monumental, respectful, and very loving relationship for however long that lasts, and it works for the both of us. I do not want to be in something just to settle. I do not want to be in something if we really like each other and we're good together, but there's no connectivity.
Yeah.
I want a partner.
Yeah.
And so that is what I'm looking at. That's what I'm seeking in my God. I feel this is the happiest I've ever been in my life. I'm grateful for the way my life has turned out. And my guy, I always say, my guy is going to be my icing on my cake. But cake is really good without icing as well.
Bevy, Thank you. What a beautiful conversation. Thank you so much, darling. I love you.
I love you more.
Do you want to see what it looks like? Okay. Here's the big reveal.
That is huge.
Huge, right?
That's way bigger than the baby. Huh?
Welcome to Dylan Dishes, Cooking with Cal. In this Today All Day series, I'm looking back at some of my favorite Cooking with Cal recipes and sharing my top kitchen tips. Today, it's all about the bake-ahead brunch. As a busy parent, I love anything that I can make ahead of time, and breakfast is no exception. First up, it's my classic cinnamon buns. Calvin loves these cinnamon buns because, well, who doesn't love cinnamon buns? I think he realizes that it's a special treat that we don't get every morning. I mean, it's something besides cereal or oatmeal or something healthy. These are kind of a dessert for breakfast, and they're totally worth it. For this recipe, you'll need warm milk, yeast, sugar, eggs, melted butter, flour, cinnamon, and salt. And for the best part, the homemade icing, you'll need cream cheese, butter, powdered sugar, and vanilla.
You've never made this recipe before, but I'm positive when you test it, you are going to love it. Okay, first things first, we have to warm up the milk because the milk just came out of the fridge and it's really cold. Now, can you pour this into here? Let me move it a little closer.
Sorry, I can't reach that far.
Right. We'll pour it in there. So instead of using regular yeast, we're gonna use instant yeast. So we don't have to wait like, 9 months for it to rise, okay? Careful, this is the melted butter. Okay, sprinkle in the sugar. A little salt. All right, so now we need an egg and a yolk from an egg. Okay.
That's a pop.
So now let's pop this off. I'm gonna sprinkle in some flour, okay? Is it getting harder and harder?
Yeah. What's that for?
This is, remember how you just said the dough is getting hard to work with?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna let this dough hook do all the work. So when we leave this here for an hour, the dough is gonna rise and fill up the whole bowl. It's gonna grow.
Like this top? What do we do with that?
It just helps keep the dough nice and warm. I'll see you back here in an hour. Do you want to see what it looks like? Okay, here's the big reveal.
That is huge.
Huge, right?
That's way bigger than the baby. Huh?
What do you think, Ollie? Are we doing a good job?
What is that? We do.
Whoa, it's nice and warm, right? Good job. It was nice and tight. Soft. Awesome. I see you, Ellie. Don't they look so pretty? Mm-hmm. I'm expecting these will be delicious. All right, let's wait 45 minutes and then we'll put them in the oven. Pull this off, big reveal. Oh, baby, these look delicious. Okay, let's make the frosting.
Actually so yummy.
Actually so yummy. Should we check out this bun in the oven?
Yeah.
Ooh, baby. Spread this all over. Can we share it?
Why?
Because it's huge. Mmm. Oh, that is good.
Before we get to the next recipe, let's answer a viewer question from Instagram. How did you teach Cal how to crack eggs? That's a very good question. I would say a lot of patience.
Okay.
That first egg that your child cracks is going to squish in his hands or her hands and get all over the place. So I recommend always cracking one egg into a little bowl off to the side. Don't do it right over the main mixture because you're going to need to pick out a lot of those shells. Teach them to just make a little crack and then they'll stick their fingers in the hole.
Do your thumbs and then pull it apart. Okay.
Just get to that point. You're still gonna have a lot of shells, but eventually they'll be able to stick their finger in the hole and peel it open like that. And eventually they sort of just understand how the whole shell thing works. But patience, you're gonna need a lot of patience and a lot of extra bowls.
Good crack. Nice, buddy. You are getting so good at this.
Okay, let's answer another question from Instagram. How old was Cal when you started cooking with him? I think Calvin was almost 2 because I remember one of the first things I started cooking with him were holiday cookies. So his birthday is in the middle of December, so it was leading up to Christmas time. And I put this awesome stool right next to me that got him, almost as tall as I was. And he just watched me bake these, and I let him do whatever I thought he can do. And I let him make a mess. That's what kids are going to do at first. They're going to make such a mess. Flour is going to get everywhere. Eggshells are going to get everywhere. But I mean, you can clean up a mess and it's fun. And the more they do it, the better they get and the cleaner they'll be. And when they're nice and young, they like to help clean up too. So that's always good to put them to work. When we come back, Bake Ahead Brunch continues with my blueberry buckle. It's my fancy way of adding a fruity twist to a classic crumb cake.
Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app. Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Uvalde, Texas, a small town that has become yet another landmark. How long do you think it took for all this damage to occur? Can you tell us what it was like? With our NBC News exclusive. It was Lester.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Uvalde, Texas, a small town that has become yet another landmark. How long do you think it took for all this damage to occur? Can you tell us what it was like? With our NBC News exclusive. It was Lester. We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
We're back with more Dylan Dishes, Cooking with Cal, and today is all about the simple ways Calvin and I take brunch to the next level. Next up, it's another of my favorite breakfast treats. We call it blueberry buckle. I, to be honest, have no idea what a blueberry buckle is. It came from my husband's family, and he always said his grandmother made the best blueberry buckle. When I saw it, I'm like, oh, it's just like a coffee cake with blueberries. I can make that. And I didn't know what else to call it, so I just kept calling it blueberry buckle. Must be a New England thing. For the cake, you'll need flour, cornstarch, salt, ginger powder, baking powder, egg, vanilla, sugar, blueberries, of course. And for the crumble topping, you'll need cinnamon, salt, brown sugar, and butter. Are you ready to help? I normally make this recipe with cake flour. It's a little bit lighter and it makes it a little more fluffier. You can't always find cake flour, or sometimes you just don't have it. So I'm going to show you a trick using all-purpose flour and cornstarch. The trick is to make cake flour out of all-purpose flour. You take a cup of flour, remove 2 tablespoons of that flour, and then add in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. So we just made cake flour. Cool, huh? We need 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of salt, okay, and we need a half a teaspoon of ginger. Okay, while you do that, I'm going to put the butter in here.
I'm ready.
Okay, ready? Count with me. We need 3 of these. Awesome!
Yummy. Smell it. Tell me when I can eat it.
Oh, I'll tell you when you can. Okay, can you pour this egg in there?
Smells good.
Awesome.
I'm gonna
Oh, I love the smell of vanilla.
Yum.
So good. Oh, thanks, baby. Put this one over here. Just to like the 4. Nice. Okay.
Tell me when can I taste it?
Okay.
Can I taste it?
Not yet.
Why?
Okay, we're gonna put in 3 cups of blueberries.
Can I taste it?
3 generous cups of blueberries.
That's a lot of blueberries.
It looks like a lot of blueberries, but they are just gonna cook down, make the whole cake purple. It's gonna be so juicy. So now the best part, the topping. You wanna help? Okay, so we need a teaspoon of cinnamon, some salt.
It's gonna take a very long time.
Half a cup of brown sugar.
Can I taste it? Yummy.
Yummy. Packed brown sugar.
Yeah. What's that? Is that the topping?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the best part?
I think it might be. Yummy. Stand back.
Is it ready?
Let's find out.
Yeah! Yeah. It's ready. This makes me happy.
Let's get to some of the questions you had for me on Instagram when I posted this recipe. Amanda asked, can this be made with frozen blueberries? And to be honest, I've actually never made it with frozen blueberries. I tend not to like frozen blueberries all that much. I feel like they don't have as much flavor. They tend to be kind of watery and small. So I think this is really something I eat seasonally. I don't really cook it throughout the year, and it's really just that height of blueberry season when you get those big, juicy blueberries. I just find it tastes so yummy. And Pammy asked, can you use other fruit? I'm sure you can. I'm not a big experimenter. Once I try something for the first time, I kind of just stick with it, and I know this is my blueberry buckle recipe, or this is my apple crisp recipe. And I never try to work in other fruit, but I bet it would taste delicious with strawberries. I bet peaches would kind of taste really good in there. So you'll have to try it for me and let me know what you think. For these recipes and more Cooking with Cal, go to today.com/DylanDishes.
Let's see how fast I could cut these.
No, that's terrible.
I'm Bella James, and this is Kids in the Kitchen. My name is Isabella, and I'm in 2nd grade, and I'm 7 years old. When I first started to cook, I was 4 years old, and the first thing I ever made was scrambled eggs. My mom taught me how to cook. Some of my favorite Jamaican dishes that I make with my mom are cow foot, brown stewed chicken, curry goat, curry chicken. Cow foot is a Jamaican dish that my mom makes that I absolutely love. I think Grammy Pearl used to make cow foot. My great-great-grandma had a restaurant in Jamaica. Everyone in my family loves to cook, so that's why I like to cook for everyone in my family. I have my own lemonade business, and it's called Sunshine Lemonade. Some of the things I like to do are to play Roblox with my friends, playing outside in the treehouse with my sister. Well, anything to get out to have fun, really. I'm also a Girl Scout, and I love to ride my bike. Today I'm so excited because today we will be making my upside down pineapple cake and my sunshine lemonade. What I love most about it is it's not too sugary, and we also put applesauce instead of eggs for people who are vegan. This is what you need to get started. Some cooking spray, some coconut oil, brown sugar, pineapple slices, and maraschino cherries. I think maraschino cherries is a funny name. I think it might be French. You're going to need a 9-inch pan, some parchment paper. Then you're going to put it at the bottom of the pan. Now you want to spray the sides with some cooking spray. Now, what you are going to want to do is you're going to get your coconut oil, pour it at the bottom, but make sure it is melted coconut oil so the cake can come out nice and moist. Now we are going to get our brown sugar, pinch and sprinkle the coconut oil and the sugar. It's going to make a nice caramel taste when it's done. Yep, you have to use the whole thing. I want something really sweet today. We want something really sweet today. No more vegetables. No more vegetables. Today we deserve a treat. Now you are going to want to grab the pineapple, put it in the center, and I'm going to make a flower design. And then, now I'm going to put another pineapple right there. Pineapple right there. Whew. Okay. And then, I'm going to put it right there. And it's cherry time. Okay. 1 cherry. 2 cherry. 3 cherry. 4 cherry. 5 cherry. 6 cherry. 7 cherries more. The reason why we put the pineapples and cherries on the bottom is because the bottom is the top. So when you flip it, it looks like a cake. And now we are going to make the cake batter. Put that right there. Cake batter time. Now we are going to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Now I've set up all my cake batter ingredients. Now we are going to start with all our dry ingredients and then mix them together. First, we are going to start with our baking powder. You have to make sure all that gets in there. Hey, you're hiding from me, aren't you? Now, the salt. Maybe I'll take some. That's better. Now, my favorite part, the shredded coconut. It's time for our sugar. Let's mix it well so it can combine. Now we're gonna mix up our wet ingredients. Okay, first we are going to start with some coconut oil. This might look very weird, but I promise you it's gonna look better when it's cooked. Let's open this vanilla up. Okay, gotta make sure it's 1 tablespoon. This should be good. Okay. Oh no, cut. Okay, we'll put some more back in there. Okay, vanilla goes in there. It's not that big of a deal. It's just gonna be a little bit of vanilla. It's okay. It's okay. Who doesn't like some vanilla? Right. Now it's time for the pineapple juice. Oh my goodness, this is very chunky coconut milk. Last but not least, our apple cider vinegar. Now, mix well to combine. The coconut oil and the applesauce are going to make the cake nice and moist. Now it's time to mix the wet ingredients with the dry ingredients. Let's grab our handy dandy whiskety. Oh my, this is very thick. Oh my. Now it's time to put the cake batter in the cake pan. This is kind of having a sad part, but now we have to put it in the oven and that takes a whole entire hour. So I think I'm gonna have to call over Mom. Mom, can you help me? So the cake is in the oven and it's gonna take an hour. So in the meanwhile, how about we work on my spicy Jamaican lemonade?
Uvalde, Texas, a small town that has become yet another landmark. How long do you think it took for all this damage to occur? Can you tell us what it was like? With our NBC News exclusive. Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world, because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? Her name is Lester. Who's this? Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
This cake goes great with my spicy Jamaican sunshine lemonade. Let me go grab the ingredients and let me show you how to make it. I need 8 lemons. 1, 2, 3. Oops. Okay. Okay, this is just getting ridiculous. So what you're going to need is lemons, fresh turmeric, fresh ginger root, some brown sugar, and molasses, and water too. So let's start peeling. I like to use a spoon to peel turmeric and ginger sometimes. It's really easy. More mess, I demand more mess. Turmeric can stain your hands, so sometimes you might want to use gloves so you don't get a stain. Now, let's start peeling some ginger. You could also use ground turmeric and ginger. I like using fresh spices because it gives a better flavor. Now I have to slice these, but it's a little hard for me. So, Mom! Here's the next piece. When you're done. Okay, thanks. Now I'm gonna add some water to the ginger and the turmeric and put it to a boil. Now let's start cutting up these lemons. You want to be really careful to make sure you don't cut where your fingers are because we're not cutting off fingers today, okay? Okay, well we're gonna get the lemon squeezer. Thank you. I love this machine because it has little holes in it so the seeds won't go through. And Bella squeezes lemon, she don't play. So the ginger and turmeric looks so good, it smells amazing in here. But now it's time to remove it from the stove. Okay, now I'm gonna add sugar, the molasses, and the lemon juice. But I wanna do it while it's hot so then it can all dissolve and come together. So first let's start with some sugar. I don't want to splash it. How about we use a spoon? That'll make life more easy right now. Do you see how satisfying that is? Now it's time for the molasses. It's so sticky. One time I tried it. It tastes a lot like honey, so I kind of liked it. Time for the lemon juice. We're going to let it cool for a bit. Okay. Put that right on top of there. This is my most favorite lemonade ever. It looks delicious. Right there. Oh my God. Ooh. This right here could make us some money. You know what goes great with lemonade? My cake. I think it's finally ready. Let's flip it. Now you have to let it sit for 15 minutes. It's gonna be the longest 15 minutes of my life. Flip it. Oop. Oh my goodness, that's exactly what we want. And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Oh, wow. It looks so good. This I will eat in one bite. Now that my cake and my lemonade are ready, I'm so excited to share this with my favorite person, my mom. Thank you. I know, it looks so good.
How it tastes.
Okay.
Super moist.
There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Delicious.
Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I loved you guys being in my kitchen with me today. Hopefully you can make this recipe too. See you later. Bye.
This morning, a remarkable team of history makers.
Yes. The Full Circle Everest Expedition recently became the first all-black climbing group to summit the world's tallest mountain. We're going to talk to them in just a few moments.
And we're looking forward to that. But first, a little bit more on their remarkable journey and their hopes that it will inspire future generations of climbers. It was a groundbreaking moment on top of the world's highest peak. 7 members of the Full Circle Everest Expedition celebrating their successful summit, all while making history as the first all-black climbing group to reach the top of Mount Everest. Team leader Phil Henderson sharing the good news on Instagram, writing in part, all members of the Climb and Sherpa teams have safely returned to base camp, where we will celebrate this historic moment. After ascending Mount Rainier in Washington last year, the team set its sights to greater heights. And for months, they worked toward their Everest goal, documenting their journey along the way. The team left base camp on May 2nd to start the climb. And after a week, they shared their progress, posting on Instagram. After countless hours of training, preparing, and dedication, the team is getting ready to make a push for the summit. 3 days later, their perseverance paid off. And in one expedition, they nearly doubled the number of black climbers who have reached the peak. But for the team, scaling Mount Everest was always more than just an experience. Their intent was to inspire the next generation of outdoor enthusiasts in black communities. Climber Fred Campbell sharing the team's mission statement on Today.
I hope that they see our experience and how much we love being out on the mountain and kind of enjoying the adventure, and they're inspired to find an adventure of their own.
Now, one team's path to success, a symbol of how to make dreams a reality. Well, now let's meet some of the team. They're celebrating this morning. Rosemary Saul and Manoa Anu were 2 of the climbers who summited, and Philip Henderson is the leader of the group who was on the mountain and saw his vision fulfilled when 7 members of the team reached the summit. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having us.
We're thrilled to have you. We know it's evening time there, and you guys are celebrating a successful summit. I'll start with you, Manoa. You're a professional climber, but this was your first time at the top of Everest. Did it meet your expectations?
Yeah, exceeded. Yeah, it's really amazing here. Up there, yeah, it's a little cold. So there is a little thin, but down here and on the journey through, to the top of the world. Every place is amazing. Everyone is amazing. So, it's all good.
Rosemary, this is like a huge personal accomplishment for you, but it's also a big accomplishment for African Americans in general. We were talking about how only 10 African Americans have ever done this, what you guys did. What does it mean to you, and what does it mean in a greater sense?
Absolutely. And I'd say it's even bigger, as you said, only 10 African Americans. I think that's 10 black folks globally, so not even necessarily, even fewer than that African Americans have made it to the summit. But yeah, this is a huge accomplishment just for each of us on our team, for the Full Circle team, for our Sherpa team, for all of the support that we've had. And now we're able to take this experience and take it back to our communities and tell the stories, share what we've learned of this beautiful place and culture, and hopefully inspire a future generation of outdoor enthusiasts.
No doubt you will. Phil, this is your group. You're the team leader. Explain to folks why this was so important for you. Why were you so hell-bent on getting folks to the top of Everest?
Well, there's a number of reasons, but one, I've been working in the industry for almost 3 decades, and when I came into it, there weren't
folks like myself that I had to look to, for guidance and mentorship and so on. And not that I haven't had mentors, but after 3 decades, I kind of found myself in that place to mentor, different members of this team and so on. And so that's a part of it. But the other part is that, I've had a relationship with people in Nepal and the Sherpa community, and I've helped train a lot of them in their craft of working as high altitude workers. And I just wanted to really share my love and my community with the Sherpa people, with the community that I have at home as well. So it was really important in a lot of ways, yeah.
I want to congratulate all of you. You're on top of the world in every way. And thank you so much for inspiring others.
Hear, hear.
Thank you so much.
For having us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Keep celebrating, okay?
Yes.
We heard there were a couple more.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home.
Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
It's a can't-miss summer on Today.
They are walking strong, elegant, and pretty easy to prepare.
How to cut costs on your vacation? Vicki has the answers.
Every single thing you need for the best summer yet.
Only on Today.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Hey, there you go. Cheers.
No need to hide those.
When you say it's 5 o'clock somewhere, it literally is. It's 5:30. Yeah, so.
If you recall, last week we brought you the incredible story of the first all-black team of climbers to ever summit Mount Everest. Up until 2 weeks ago, only 10 African Americans had ever reached the top. That number has nearly doubled in size, thanks to 7 members of Full Circle Everest Expedition.
Yeah, and this morning they're here with us. Their first live in-person interview. We've seen them on Zoom, but it's good to welcome you in person.
Yes.
The history-making team. All right, real quick, we want to get everyone's name. Give me your first and last name.
Philip Henderson.
Rosemary Saul.
Evan Green.
Manoa Nu'u.
Eddie Taylor.
Thomas Moore.
Abby Dion.
Fred Campbell.
Adina Scott.
Everyone got a little airtime. We had to start that way. All right, guys. So this was your idea.
Yes, ma'am.
What did it feel like to finally see it come to fruition? You've been thinking about this for a long time now.
Yeah, just proud. Just feel really proud of the team, and the accomplishments that, we've been working for almost 3 years to make it happen.
Did you ever have any doubt?
No, not at all.
Wow.
No doubt.
Philip, I want to ask you something. You could have summited to the top,
Yes.
but instead you gave your spot to Evan. Why?
There was a lot of logistics and things that need to happen, and every Everest expedition has a manager that manages things in base camp and the whole team. And I felt like if I focused on personal climbing, then that would be selfish. And they really needed me to be in that position, so I just decided not to climb.
Wow.
Y'all remember?
So cool.
You remember Rosemary, don't you? She had you had a cocktail. You were celebrating the last time.
We were, yes.
Have you had a chance to sort of sit with what you did and reflect on that moment?
A little bit. With each passing day, we have a bit more time to just think about what happened. And still in the process of really realizing the accomplishment that just happened, and it's still sinking in. It's still sinking in. Yeah.
What was the hardest part of this for you guys?
For me, it was more of a marathon. It was almost a 2-month expedition, so it was just in it for the long haul and the process of moving up to the different camps. And the summit day was just one piece of the picture.
Philip, just a few seconds here that we have left. What can we do to help break this barrier of access for people of color to be able to get outdoors, to be able to learn how to climb and do all this? What's necessary?
People getting out and doing it, and showing folks that we belong out there as well. Mother Nature doesn't care what color you are, you know, but you need to get out, and it's healing. It's a healing for all of us. So, yeah.
Wow.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very inspiring.
Hike to the base camp wearing those.
That's not true.
The flip-flops.
Oh, yeah, she did.
Did she really?
For real?
Is this true?
Oh my God, Tina.
I like
Whoa, all right. We can't wait to see what y'all do next. Now, to more on that remarkable story that first captured the world's attention last week. It's a Florida man. He landed that plane with zero flying experience after the pilot suddenly became unconscious.
Well, the details that initially emerged were already stunning. And now in a Today exclusive, Darren Harrison is sharing what happened inside that cockpit, describing a flight more harrowing and even more inspiring than we could have imagined.
I knew it was a life or death situation. Either you do what you have to do to control the situation or you're going to die. And that's what I did.
In the most terrifying moment of his life, Darren Harrison proved calm and collected.
I've got a serious situation here. My pilot has gone incoherent.
The 39-year-old, whose career focuses on flooring sales, was traveling home from a fishing trip in the Bahamas on board a single-engine Cessna 208.
Big a deal.
Only two others were on board, the pilot and the pilot's friend.
My nightmare's always been when I go on flights like this. What happens if something health-wise happens to the pilot? What's going to happen?
You've thought about that before?
Oh, I've thought about it many a times.
Initially, Darren said everything seemed to be normal.
And you didn't seem to be a nervous flyer. You took a shot at the cockpit with your feet up and back.
Yep, I was just back there relaxing.
But shortly after taking that photo, he heard from the pilot, and everything changed.
I saw he kind of did a move like this and said, guys, I got to tell you, I don't feel good. And I said, what's wrong? And he said, I got a headache and I'm fuzzy and I just don't feel right. And I said, what do we need to do? And at that point, he didn't respond at all. He was already done.
What was the position of his body in that moment?
He was still leaned back.
So he never slumped forward.
Correct. Never slumped forward at all. At that point, he wasn't responding to us yelling at him. So I moved to the front, and by the time I had moved forward to the front of the airplane, I realized that we had now gone into a dive at a very fast rate. All I saw when I came up to the front was water out the right window, and I knew it was coming quick.
The plane is in a nosedive, essentially.
Correct. Yes. And at that point, I knew if I didn't react, that we would die. And so I reached over his body because he's at this point unresponsive. I kind of put my arm over to where my elbow was sitting here, and I grabbed the controls of the airplane and slowly started to pull back on the stick and turn.
How did you know how to do that?
Just common sense, I guess, being on airplanes, because I knew if I went up and yanked that the airplane would stall. And I also knew at the rate we were probably going way too fast, and it would rip the wings off the airplane.
Let's just stop for 1 minute right there before you talk to any air traffic controller, before you put on any headset. The pilot is still in the seat.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's a miracle right there.
That's the scariest part of the whole story.
Defying death in that moment was just the first miracle that day. Darren then found himself in the pilot's seat over open ocean with no flight experience and at first, no way to call for help.
I now have the availability to climb into the seat to fly the airplane. I sit down and I'm trying to put on the headset that the pilot was wearing. And so I pull on the wires and I pull up and they're all frayed. The plug's gone off the end of the headphones. And so now I don't have a headset to use.
So now your lifeline, you're literally holding a frayed cord that could be your lifeline to talk to anyone.
Yes. So I immediately turn to the guy next to me and say, I'm gonna need your headset because I gotta talk to somebody.
The person on the ground was Captain Bobby Morgan, an air traffic controller and part-time flight instructor.
All my GPSs have gone out. I have no idea where I am. And then it was, well, what do you see? I see the state of Florida and I see a small airport. And they said, can you drop to 5,000 and maintain? And I said, I can try. I can work on it. But I'm still trying to figure this thing out.
You didn't have any shoes on.
Nope, I was barefoot. My shoes were in the back.
You're practicing going up, going down, getting the feel for the controls.
Yeah, because at some point, the realization sits in of you're gonna have to land the airplane.
There's only one way to get down.
One way.
Did it ever cross your mind that you wouldn't try
Or was it just like, I can't do this?
No. No. When I was flying and saw the state of Florida, at that second, I knew I'm going to land there. I don't know what the outcome's going to be. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to have to land this airplane because there's no other option. At that point, we turned around and look, and the pilot's still not conscious in the back.
With Captain Morgan's guidance, Darren navigated the plane to Palm Beach International Airport.
And he kept telling me the whole time, the runway's going to keep getting bigger as you get closer to it. Just keep focused on that and just keep descending. And I remember getting to around 200 feet, and he said, hey, you're going to need to slow down some more. You're still coming in pretty fast. And at that point, I told the other guy, I said, hey, take the throttle and dump it on the floor. Just dump it on the floor as far as it'll go.
Moments later, Darren touched down on the runway.
So,
and then you slammed on those brakes with your bare feet.
I slowly feathered the brakes as I'm going down the runway. And surprisingly, I felt so comfortable with it. I radioed to the guy and I said, hey, I'm feeling pretty confident in the brakes and everything. Do you guys want me to turn off the runway so I can clear this thing out?
You offered to park.
Yeah.
And when did you exhale?
I said thank you for everything, and I threw the headset on the dash and said the biggest prayer I've ever said in my life. That's when all the emotion set in.
Can you share what your prayer was?
It was a thankful prayer for the safety and everything that had happened. But the last part of the prayer and the strongest part was for the guy in the back. Because I knew it was not a good situation. Yeah.
Your thoughts immediately turned to him.
Yes, absolutely.
And how is he?
He is expected to leave the hospital, I believe, on Monday.
Wow.
Yes.
Another miracle.
Yes. When they took him to the hospital, he was not expected to live.
Once safely on the ground, Darren's first call was to his wife, Brittany, who's pregnant with their first child, a baby girl.
Everybody's asked me, like, well, what if you would have crashed and died and you didn't get a chance to tell your wife you loved her? You could have at least called her. You could have reached out to her. You had time. In my mind, I knew I wasn't going to die. And the thought never crossed my mind to call and tell my wife bye.
But Brittany feared the worst.
I saw his name pop up on my phone, and I always calculate, like when I think he's going to land. I immediately looked at my watch and I was like, he should have 20 more minutes of flight time. So, honestly, I took a deep breath and prepared myself for it to not be him on the other line.
What was it like to hear her voice?
It was one of the biggest reliefs because I was safe.
You're 7 months pregnant, and you had been worrying about your husband for a reason.
Yeah, so a year ago in April, we lost my brother-in-law while my sister was 6 months pregnant. And when I saw his name on the phone, I told myself, I said, God, we can't do this again. I don't think I can do it again. And thankfully, we didn't have to.
Did you think about your little girl?
I did. Oh, yeah. It's one of the first things that went through my mind. As I was climbing to the front and that plane was in a dive, I was just looking, going, I can't die today. Brittany's pregnant, I got a baby on the way. Not today. Today's not my day.
An unwavering determination to survive in the air, guided by the heavens. What enabled you to manage in a crisis, a life or death emergency like that, and stay so focused and calm?
God.
You felt God's presence there?
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain how?
So everybody always asks me, how did the airplane do what it did? How did it stay together? How did you pull it out? It's the hand of God was on that plane.
Yeah. And on you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the only thing I can attribute it to. It's no other explanation for it.
I'm speechless.
Isn't he incredible? I know. It was it was such an honor to get to speak to him. He's really incredible. So inspiring. Very funny. He also said, I said, are you like a calm person? Is that kind of your thing? And he said, no.
Really?
Yeah, he said, actually, in fact, as a youngster, I was kind of hot-headed. He's like, I've been working on my dad and going to church and Bible study trying to calm down. But it's pretty incredible. The other thing, and we'll talk about it in the third hour, but now, look, we're all aerospace engineers now, but it's like you need flaps to land the plane. And he tells this whole story about what happened when he tried to lower the flaps, and he ends up flying without flaps. So he lands without flaps, which is a thing.
His presence of mind every step of the way.
Yes.
And the fact that he said, today's not my day, to have that kind of calm confidence.
Yes. And it really was miracle upon miracle. I think he, first of all, it was overwhelming because suddenly the whole world is calling him. He goes, I didn't know there was a Today Show in Australia. I was like, that wasn't my call. But, he really wanted to, he was so worried for the pilot. Yeah. And he wanted to make sure that was going to be okay. And it sounds like it is.
Today might be the day he's out.
Yes, I hope so. So
that was awesome.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months. Exactly. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to Today. We got a lot to celebrate on this Wednesday morning. It's good to have you along with us.
You don't know when your moment's coming, but when it does, you take it.
Everybody's good, and that's it.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Hey, who's this?
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
We're back with our series Dad's Got This, and recently I talked to a truly incredible nurse. He's also a dad, an author, and a podcaster, and he's using his own experiences to show others what it means to be a caregiver. Meet Nurse Papa, a.k.a. David Metzger, a pediatric oncology nurse working at UCSF Children's Hospital in San Francisco. David found his calling as a nurse after falling out of love with his first career as a professional sculptor. Why did you decide to become a pediatric nurse?
What I was doing wasn't feeding my soul in the way I wanted to. And with my first pediatric patient in that first hour of that clinical rotation, I ended up taking care of a little girl who didn't have any parent at the bedside, and she was crying. So I just picked her up and started singing to her. And in that moment, I realized that she was just afraid. And I had this moment of clarity where I was like, oh, I could be a pediatric nurse, and it's something I could be really good at.
Since his career transitioned to nursing, David has become a father of two, as well as a published author. His debut book, Nurse Papa, 16 Meditations on Parenthood from a Pediatric Oncology Nurse, was released last year. This is a book that you were writing on your phone?
That's how it started, because I had my phone in my pocket. There are so many ways to be a caregiver, and there's so many ways to be taken care of. I felt it was really important that people had access to these just rarefied situations where there's so much drama and there's so much pain and joy. Sometimes these things are unresolved and sometimes people are hurt. but we all keep growing.
David, are your kids old enough to get their heads around what it is Dad does?
Oh yeah, I mean, they see me come home in my scrubs, every night that I work, and my daughter especially, she's really interested in my patients and what I do. She's always, Papa, tell me about the hospital. Tell me what you did today.
I know that my dad is a nurse. He helps kids with cancer.
And that gets tricky sometimes, because sometimes it's hard to tell these stories. And I think by being honest with our children and being compassionate, and by following their lead about what they want to know, you're preparing them to be, humane, compassionate people.
Outside of his weekly nursing shifts at the hospital, David has also been producing and hosting the Nurse Papa podcast.
Nurse Papa is brought to you by,
where he answers questions from parents in a segment called Dear Nurse Papa.
What I really want to do is to normalize the experience of being a parent. It is not easy. I have made so many mistakes. I think this morning I've made 1,000 mistakes with my kids already.
I make a lot of mistakes as well. What are some of your more common mistakes?
Yelling at my kids. I really like to yell, don't yell.
Stop yelling!
Stop yelling!
Why are you yelling?
I think that if you are aware of your mistakes and, that you acknowledge them, that means that you're doing an okay job.
In a nod to his artist background, David always wears a colorful stethoscope decorated with hospital wristbands given to him by his patients over the years.
This is 15 years taking care of kids. I mean, this is like my most prized possession. Some of these kids are living, some are not, but it's just been a way to remember them.
That's a beautiful thing. The sadness and the loss. How do you not take that home with you?
You do. I mean, it's just part of it. Like, I think that the opportunity to be there at bedside with these children, even when they're sick, even when they're dying, has been like the greatest gift that I've ever been given, because it's really shown me what life is all about. And it's made me a more complex, caring person.
Wow.
He's a special man. And you made a good point during the story. I mean, doctors, oncology doctors are obviously, angels among us. But the nurses, the nurses are
every day.
Every day.
Every day.
That's great.
You can search for David's Nurse Papa podcast, by the way, wherever you listen and get your podcasts. And for more stories about incredible dads, head over to our website, today.com.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app. Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Imagine how exciting it must be for kids when one of the world's greatest athletes comes to visit on the last day of school.
That's amazing.
I mean, exactly. That's what you do
That's
when
awesome.
basketball great LeBron James drops by. This is the I Promise School in his hometown of Akron, Ohio. He's actually vice principal of the school, which is a partnership between Akron and the LeBron James Family Foundation. King James posed for pictures with kids, teachers too, and later posted some of those scenes from that surprise visit online, wishing the students a fun and safe
That's
summer.
pretty awesome. I'm trying to
mean,
think of who showed up to our elementary school. Did you have any big names show up?
No.
Smokey the Bear once.
Yeah, exactly.
Those schools are transformative, by the way.
Yeah, that's great. He does great work on and off the court.
All right, a lot of people learned new skills and hobbies while they were stuck at home during the pandemic, like this little boy. He decided to take up the piano. Okay, 5-year-old Alberto, he lives in Italy. He started playing the piano when the pandemic began. Both his parents are musicians, and it wasn't long before they realized their son was a prodigy, especially when it came to Mozart. They say they're not strict about making him practice, so he still has time to go to school and play and watch TV and wow.
And no sheet music, right? I think he's just
Look at
playing.
him
That's
just
incredible.
playing.
How can his little hands reach
Yeah.
all those keys?
Little tiny fingers.
Impressive.
The answers come when you need them most. Ooh, let it go.
The Today Show's newest fan.
Little Al Roker.
All righty. Well, hey guys, thanks for being here. We really appreciate it. The name of this show, Family Game Fight, it sounds a little aggressive.
It's not a good name.
That's what I
I'm
said.
glad you pointed it out.
There are a lot of flaws in the show.
Yeah, this is but one of many. But yes, not only that, but it's very hard to say. Your muscle memory wants to say family game night. So even Kristen, who I have to say, pound for pound is the most accurate, precise speaker on planet Earth. When she has to do recording for movies and match her lips to the screen, one take. I watch it all the time. She's a master. She fumbled family game fight
because
a
you
couple
want to
times.
say family game night, and that is the feeling of the show because it's two families, and because they don't know each other, and you were building it up as a big.
It's a battle.
It's a battle. We added the word fight. We're still mulling over whether that was the correct.
We're stuck with it. Yeah. Now we painted ourselves into a corner, and here we are.
So what's the premise? What constitutes the fight, the battle? What are they playing? How are they doing this?
Lots of games, lots of weird games. There's a game called Pie Rollers where Dax and I each get a mystery word, and we have to choose how many clues do we give you before you can guess the mystery word. And we basically bet, and then whichever family takes the bet, the losing family gets a pie to the face. That's a bad game.
Well, they get multiple pies.
Multiple
There's nothing
pies.
that's bad in the show that doesn't also then occur a million times.
Yeah.
So, and what makes this game show, I think, much different is it originated from Kristen and I doing a bit on Ellen called Taste Buds, where we're blindfolded and I'm tasting a banana. Oh, they're yellow. They grow on trees. Monkeys eat them.
Eucalyptus. Is what I said.
Al, no.
I said.
No. That's a koala clue. So we played this game on Ellen, and it was just an unmitigated disaster for about 3.5 minutes. We are not in on the joke, but we
were really fighting.
And it's objectively the funniest thing we've ever been a part of together as a team. So we stood back from it. And we were like, it's pretty hysterical watching how frustrated we are with each other. What if this was a whole show? So what's different about our show is that we're also competing against each other. So we're the mascot of our team, and we go head to head nonstop.
And we're trying to win, and each family that comes on, and it can be a pandemic family, a group of friends, anyone who considers themselves family. It doesn't have to be blood.
A Manson family.
Okay, that might end a little differently.
He said it's a dangerous show. And Dax is fighting for his family. I'm fighting for my family to win $100,000. And we're getting ice buckets dumped on our head and down our back. They hook up a tube in this game called Brain Freeze with a big ice watery chunk that has to go down your back and down your pants. And it is one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever done.
And we did it 18 times in a row.
Oh my God.
It would seem, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that you're tempting fate as a couple couples have enough conflict without adding to it and having a national television audience watching. Was there any hesitation in doing this?
I think what you're saying is it's arrogant, and you know what? You're dead right. It's very cocky of us to leave a house with a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. We're already going to kill each other, and then we drive 12 minutes to Warner Brothers, and then just do it for another 16 hours straight.
Yeah.
Hey,
let's stress test this thing. Let's see what it'll bear.
What we're really made of.
Kristen, you mentioned, like some pandemic families. We're all coming out of this. Are there any lessons that we might have learned during the pandemic that you see with these families that show that they've learned something during this stressful time?
I mean, I would say that a lot of the families that we had on the show, they were very close. They were teammates, and like to the best definition of that. And I think that's because a lot of these people that came on the show, they spent the last 18 months together. And I mean, certainly learned what we learned, which is that patience and grace is key. I mean, when life is busy, you can make an argument that you're allowed to be snappy with someone. But when you're just sitting in a house, you're sort of like, I've got two choices. I could be frustrated with this person because what they're doing is annoying me, or I could just choose patience and grace and give everybody a little bit of a free pass like I would be asking for. And so the families seemed, there was a group of Bruins football players, there was
firefighters,
a group of firefighters that had spent the whole pandemic even like working together, because that stuff doesn't shut down just because we have to stay indoors. A group of sisters that spent it together.
But you're right. As the saying goes, you find out who your friends are in adversity, not in triumph. So I think for the last year, they've really figured out, like, oh yeah, who would I pod with? Who can I count on to do this? Who do I trust? I think a lot of people have come out of this with a sense of like who that core is.
I'm fascinated by the choices you guys make, in that, so here you are squished together during this pandemic with your kids, admittedly driving each other nuts. So you get out of the pandemic, and the first thing you do is get into an even smaller space in an RV and start driving. So explain that choice to me.
Okay. I mean, is this a 6-hour segment? Because I got to start by saying I'm 46. Time is boogieing by. I mean, it is blowing by. I'm sure it's going even at a faster rate for you. I'm committed.
I'm old.
Well, not just that you're old, but time it collapses on itself, right?
Sure.
So a year for me is 1/46 of my life. For my 8-year-old, it's 1/8 of her life. Those are different. So I'm obsessed with novelty. I think when you are experiencing new sights, new smells, new tastes, that you are actually slowing time down. You're taking in more data and you're slowing time down. My example would be you go on vacation. First 3 days, you're like, man, I feel like I've been here for a week. Last 2 days are like that. So if you just keep that motorhome moving, you never get to those last 2 days.
And do you feel the same way, Kristen?
I do. Well, that's also a very, very good argument. And in our house, the best, most sound argument wins. So I can make arguments that, like, well, it might be slightly uncomfortable in the motorhome. And then when I look at those two arguments in comparison, I'm like, yeah, I'd take a tiny amount of discomfort, which it really isn't, for a time stretching out. And for some reason, our family, the four of us, have learned how to cooperate in a small space better than a large space. And oddly, I would say that brings back to the pandemic lesson. You make different choices when you can't escape. When you are with someone face to face all the time, you choose wisely, I feel like. And you can, we got along great. The girls like barely fought.
I think we do have some history of, like, as a little team, we'll go away, Kristen will go work somewhere. So all four of us go to a hotel for some period of time. We fly together. We do. I think we've had like a lot of little compartment. One of
got a
them's knocking at the door, even though they know
You
they
take
can't.
it. You
come
take the
out
question.
here.
I'll get the child. Hold on. I said, we're on TV right now. We're on the news. And she said, okay. And this, I'm sure, is about the doll's birthday. We found
She's
out
all in
yesterday
the bag
that
with
it's
some
her doll's birthday, and now we have to order a cake, and she wrapped like 6 presents yesterday, and now we got to celebrate. She's taking it very seriously. Anyway.
Wow,
She's planning a bacchanalia for this.
But as teammates, as Dax was saying, because we travel as a family when he works or when I work, we support each other no matter how crazy the idea is. So we will be celebrating Gloria the doll's birthday this evening.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months. Exactly. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to Today. We got a lot to celebrate on this Wednesday morning. It's good to have you along with us.
You don't know when your moment's coming, but when it does, you take it.
Everybody's good, and that's it.
It's a can't miss summer on Today.
They are walking strong, elegant, and pretty easy to prepare.
How to cut costs on your vacation? Vicky has the answers.
Every single thing you need for the best summer yet.
Only on Today.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Here's the thing, and you talk about, Dax, you talk about gender assumptions. And I think people always assume that boys smell worse than girls. And as the father of 2 girls and a boy, I can tell you that that's not necessarily so. And I understand that there's an issue in your house with that.
Well, they smell like vinegar, and I can't compare them to boys, but it's all kids. And I think you're referring to when we bathe them. It's a smell test. It's a foot smell test. And then you just pop them in the water or the shower or the bath.
Yeah.
But prior to that, it's too much work. So it's every couple
Especially
of days.
in the summer. So something happens in summer, right? You loosen up the bedtime. All of a sudden we realize like, oh geez, now we're watching TV with these kids at like 11 p.m. This went off the rails. And then you're just bathing them far less, and you're kind of leaving them in charge of it, which they're bad at it. And then, a whiff will hit you and you go, oh, it's time.
Yeah.
In fact, it was probably time yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, but here we are.
So was that the impetus for your line, Hello Bello, for like soaps and products for kids?
Get them clean.
Our kids were because we, we're overpaid and we live in Los Angeles. So we had our, any product that might've been fantastic, we had access to, we could afford. And at a certain point we were like, it's kind of weird if you live in Michigan where we're from and you are middle class, you probably can't have all this stuff we had. And we were just in a really weird position where we could approach a Walmart and start with the economy of scale that allowed us to do really premium, healthy, organic stuff for half the price of the other stuff.
We say it's your mom's ingredients at your dad's prices. And we make the amazing diapers. Hello Bello has the best diapers. And they come in a diaper box when you get the bundle that turns into a toy. Like it'll turn into an airplane. It's like a foldable box. So it's
race car.
Yeah, or a race car or a lemonade stand. We're trying to make it very cool.
Or kindling for your fire in the winter.
Oh, even better.
And then a lot of good.
It's like the Transformers of kid stuff.
Yeah, we're trying to make it fun and all the stuff you would need for a baby or a kid. And we're putting a lot of thought into it and trying to bring it to the masses because it's about half the price of anything else.
So the girls aren't babies anymore. What now that they're out there and they're these independent, free-thinking, free-range kids, what are they coming home with that still just kind of gobsmacks you sometimes?
Well, currently, into our great horror, our 8-year-old has taken an interest in musical theater. So what's great is, this is really what what we're dying for as parents is like, you push all this stuff on them 0 to 8, why don't you try soccer? Why don't you try this? Our life was just taking them all these places they didn't want to be. And we did not push acting because we want nothing to do with it until they're older. We don't want to drive to auditions and stuff. So lo and behold, she's studying like crazy. She's learning like reams of dialogue and songs, and she's just on fire for it. And we're not a part of that. It's just happening, and that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's a parenting theory where you just follow the kid, and so we kind of got to follow it. She's loving it. She's doing a lot of little plays. I shouldn't say little. She's doing a lot of plays, and she's doing a great job.
Yeah.
And the younger one is all over the place.
Yeah.
We don't know what her deal is yet.
Planning. Apparently she's an event planner in the making because she has a birthday party for a stuffed animal at least once a week.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody's got to have a skill.
Welcome to Today All Day.
All day?
Today, all day.
All day. This is a long way of asking who's your favorite character you've ever played?
The unicorn. The unicorn. You gotta have the unicorn.
What is she right there? That's why you're saying all these nice things?
Yeah, she gave me the look. Sorry to disturb your day. Everyone's mad at you, Willie.
Better make this fast. I don't want the wrath of Luna.
When I see you, I always think, I wonder what his quote would be.
Give us 6 minutes and we'll ask as many questions as we can.
Welcome to Cold Cuts. Cold Cut. Cold Cut.
My buddy Cal cooking with me.
Dads don't babysit. It's called parenting.
What was the first book you remember loving?
Heart Smart Today with simple exercises to strengthen your heart.
Make the most of your beach days.
It's all about the tracksuit now. How good do they look?
I now pronounce you husband and wife. Kiss the bride.
This morning, a story of people helping people.
You've received tons of letters from people who have been inspired.
Let's do the weather out. Okay. All you gotta do is say, it's cold, it's warm, it's raining, it's snowing. That's it.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. They're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told.
No. Top story with Tom Yamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world. Because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson. Streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top story with Tom Yamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to Today. We got a lot to celebrate on this Wednesday morning. It's good to have you along with us.
You don't know when your moment's coming, but when it does, you take it.
Everybody's good, and that's it.
It's a can't miss summer on Today.
They are walking strong, elegant, and pretty easy to prepare.
How to cut costs on your vacation? Vicky has the answers.
Every single thing you need for the best summer yet.
Only on Today.
For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
So your parents, your producers, your actors, actresses, your game show hosts, you guys leave this crazy life. Is there anything that you've got on the bucket list that you haven't done yet that you want to tackle?
I'm recently obsessed with Formula One, so I do intend to go to see some races in foreign countries, which my lovely bride is going to facilitate because she took a movie in England and in September, and the conversation literally went like this. She said, so I was pitched a movie. It happens in England. It's going to be with my favorite singer, Ben Platt. It's short. I've already figured out what Formula One races you could go to. If you're in England, you could base out of there. Like, she came with the big carrot. And I was like, hold on a second. So I might get to go to Turkey to the Formula One race. And she said, yeah, I think that could happen. And I was like, you should take this movie. Sounds like a great movie.
Because when we take any work, we make decisions as a group. Like, nobody just something like neither of us would go to New Zealand for 6 months to shoot. It would just be crazy stressful on our family. So I knew I had to come up with a really good pitch if I wanted to do this movie. And thankfully he bit. And so, we'll be traveling safely this fall.
I won't. I'm going to be juggling chainsaws the whole flight, Cal.
But anything we haven't done, I don't think so. I don't know. We don't strategize, to be honest. It's pretty loosey-goosey around here.
It is. And I got to say, it's a great, great freedom. I lamented about time moving faster, but the freedom of getting older is that I don't have aspirations anymore. There's no one I'm trying to be. We're just here. Sometimes someone calls and says, you want to come over and do this thing? And then we do it. Like, it's transitioned, at least for me, where it's like the goal has kind of been erased, and I love it. So now it's just really about process every time. Like, would that be fun for us? Would we enjoy doing that? And that's a humongous luxury that is new to us.
I'm a huge animation fan, and I would say you both have some pretty cool animation projects coming up.
Some cooler than others, but yeah. I'm in the Paw Patrol movie, which I did with the sole goal of having something my kids would be excited to see me in. It's a very egotistical, driven decision. And as luck would have it, in about the 2 years it takes to make a movie, I've noticed we're not watching Paw Patrol as much as I would like. I had this whole fantasy where they were going to be counting down the days till Friday. I was going to take them to the movies. We're going to do popcorn the whole night. And I'm like, hey guys, no one wants to check out Paw Patrol this weekend? Wait, you guys are watching sitcoms? When did this happen?
How about you, Kristen?
Well, two of my friends had this idea to create a kids cartoon in the wake of a lot of arts programs being cut from public schools because the budgets just aren't there. And music was so pivotal to me. It brought me to acting. It brought me to so many different things in my life. So we created this show called Do Re Mi. It'll be on Amazon in September. And
Do Re and Me.
Do Re and Me. I play me. And it's about 3 little songbirds, and it is entertainment for children, but we have pushed in a lot of there's music theory ideas. They live in this place called Bebopsburg, where like instruments grow on trees. We talk about different instruments, and we talk about different types of music from around the world. And it's really a music education class, but masked as a kid's cartoon. So your kids are sort of absorbing all these things that data and science tells us helps their brain with math, with communication, with social activities. Like music actually does that for your brain. It's why they play Little Einstein for babies when they're in the womb. It really does great things for your brain. And so, yeah, these 3 little songbirds. And then we'll have like games to go along with it that will be educational, where the kids can make their own music and they can learn how to, have teammates in a band and stuff. So we're really hoping that fills the gap of music education for kids, because I think every kid deserves it.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months. Exactly. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? what should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession. If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
It's a can't miss summer on Today.
They are walking strong, elegant, and pretty easy to prepare.
How to cut costs on your vacation? Vicky has the answers.
Every single thing you need for the best summer yet.
Only on Today.
I love the title Queen Pins. I mean, it's perfect. Tell me about this.
It's a baller title. Well, it's a true story about these suburban housewives who felt down on their luck, started a counterfeit coupon organization, and they laundered $40 million. And you can read about it in the news. And Aaron and Gita, these beautiful filmmakers, who's a husband and wife team, made it into a script. And I shot it with Kirby Howell-Baptiste, who's one of my favorite actresses ever. This is project number 5 with her, and I will continue to work with her. So it was really fun. It's got Paul Walker Hauser, Vince Vaughn, and it's just a really fun Queen Pins comedy about these girls trying to evade the law and make some money. And I had so much fun doing it.
And Dax, one of the great pleasures of technology are these podcasts. And your podcast, time in and time out, is really, it's like this whole other version of you, yet it is you. Are you surprised at how much people love this podcast? I mean, it really is something that it seems like maybe you did on a lark, but my gosh, it is terrific.
Thank you so much. It's a humongous surprise. The trajectory of my working career has been work really hard for a couple years and then have the movie come out on Friday and then want to die on Saturday. So that's my work reward muscle memory is a little skewed. And so yeah, to do something that I worked less hard on and that was really successful is very disorienting. I don't know. But I will say, I think any credit that I could take, I would just have to give it to AA, because I think my original goal in the podcast was like, oh, I get to go to these meetings every week. It's all men. They're sharing openly. They're admitting their character defects, the ways they've erred and what they learned from it. And I'm picking up all this stuff. And the level of vulnerability and honesty and support is so unique. Why doesn't everyone get to experience this? Why does one have to go be an alcoholic to have this peer experience? And so that was kind of the North Star of the podcast. Like, what if we could do this in public? What if I could start first and go like, oh yeah, all these things happened to me and this is how I did it. And I messed up this way and get the ball rolling that way instead of like, how'd you win that Oscar? Boy, you were great. Like, I think there's some other conversation to be had that is not unique to AA, but it was seemingly unique to the podcast space. So I think that's why.
Well, I think the honesty of it and the just almost, and I don't mean this in a negative, but the rawness of it is something that we're just not used to, and in pop, our pop social world right now.
I try when I'm feeling very lofty about myself, I think of it as a bit of an antidote to 140 characters, a curated life of pictures on Instagram, all these things that are snapshots. I'm much more interested in like the whole thing and not the time that you got the angle where I actually look like my nose is average size. Like, that's not what we're after.
Well, it succeeds, my friend, and to both of you. And before we go, I circle back to Family Game Fight. What was it like? I mean, did you enjoy working together?
More than ever on this one. We just in general enjoy working together because, and we've said this before, so I sound a little inauthentic, but in life, every day there's 9 options for us to disagree. We don't have a common goal. We don't want to eat at the same place. We aren't in the mood to watch the same TV show. We don't have the same opinion on what we should do with the kids as parents. It's just a nonstop waterfall of compromise. When we work together, it's this rare bubble where we have the exact same goal. Like, we want the show to be great. And then even more than that, I it's rare, I think, for partners in a marriage to be the benefactor of their partner's genius. So if I'm out on stage in this game show, it's on my shoulders and it's on hers. And she is like, she's John Stockton and I'm Malone, or vice versa. Or she's, I'm Pittman, she's George. Like, I look at her and I go, oh my God, she's going to do more than half the lifting, maybe even more than half the lifting. She's so good at this. Watch her go. Oh my God, I feel safe in like my teammate. It's just a rare thing, I think, to get to experience in a marriage.
No, it was beautiful. But yeah, he's also said before, you don't get to go to work with your partner and see them thrive. If your partner is an accountant, you don't get to go to work and see them do a spreadsheet or add numbers. Yes, smash a spreadsheet. But we get to go to work and see each other be a sort of in our element and be our best. And it's also the safety net as an actor to have someone you trust so much next to you. So having a common goal mitigates any sort of arguments that could happen or compromises, because we're just on track with a common goal. And that's something really beautiful. And we always come home feeling very grateful for each other.
Yeah, some people go away to like nice hotels for a week to rekindle, and we go shoot for 90 hours and we come out thinking like, yeah, I picked the right one.
And you get paid.
That's right.
Oh, guys.
It's Doji coin, which we regret.
Oh, well, but it's a cute little dog. So.
It is. I think that's what got us.
Gets everybody. Guys, thanks so much. It's great to see you.
Thank you, Al. A lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hey everyone, I'm Joe Fryer. I'm glad you're joining me for a very special Pride Month edition of Pop Start Plus. Coming up, we'll have everything to watch as we round out the month. Our friend Chris Witherspoon stops by to highlight some strong LGBTQ plus storytelling in movies and TV. We'll also hear from one of the stars of the Mindy Kaling created show Never Have I Ever, and how the show rightly tackles representation. And later, a look at how and why the Golden Girls has become so important to the LGBTQ community. Plus, I'll show you my interview with the cast of the reboot of Queer as Folk. It's all still to come, but let's get to what's first up, why don't we? Chris Witherspoon is a fountain of knowledge, especially on what to watch for Pride Month. So we had the founder and CEO of Pop Viewers break down which LGBTQ movies and shows you should be adding to your list.
June is Pride Month. And don't think we're gonna let this month sashay away without giving you a list of must-see content featuring some iconic LGBTQ plus characters. So let's get right to it. First up is P-Valley on Stars. The series is created by Katori Hall and follows several people who work at a strip club deep down in the Mississippi Delta. You have a couple of veteran strippers with compelling storylines played by Shannon Thornton and Brandy Evans, but the scene stealer of the series is Uncle Clifford, played by Nico Anand. Uncle Clifford is the non-binary owner of the strip club and truly the breakout star of the show. He's always serving heels, lip gloss, lashes, and we are here for all of it. Oh, and for the hotties out there, none other than Megan Thee Stallion will be joining the cast this season. She'll be playing a character based on her rap alter ego named Tina Snow. You can watch season 2 of P-Valley Sunday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern on Starz. Next up is the Queer as Folk reboot on Peacock, which is part of NBC's parent company, NBC Universal. It's the reimagining of the groundbreaking Showtime series from the early 2000s. Now, a lot has changed since then. This time, the show takes place in New Orleans and follows a diverse group of friends who find their lives transformed in the aftermath of a tragedy.
Haven't seen you around? You a tourist?
Nah, I've been in Baltimore for med school.
Rude of you to be hot and smart.
The series stars Devin Way, Finn Argus, Jesse James Keitel, Ryan O'Connell, and Johnny Sibley. Okay, next up is Paris is Burning, arguably one of the most legendary, I'll say it again, legendary documentaries about the Black and Latino gay ballroom scene of the 80s.
The House of La Beija is the legendary house above all of them. I have the most members, I'm the most popular. New York City is wrapped up in being La Beija.
Have you ever stopped to ask yourself how terms like shade, reading, and slay became popular vernacular? Well, look no further. Paris is Burning will give you all the receipts. The documentary explores the elaborately structured structured ballroom competitions where contestants are judged on their dance talent, the fierceness of their looks, and the realness of their drag. The film alternates between footage of the balls and prominent members of the ballroom scene like Pepper LaBeija, Dorian Corey, Angie Extravaganza, and Willie Ninja. Oh, and have a box of Kleenex handy because the film also touches on issues within the LGBTQ+ community such as AIDS, racism, poverty, violence, and homophobia. In 2016, the film was selected for preservation in the U.S. National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. That's what we call 10s across the board. That's a ballroom reference, you guys. Paris is Burning is now streaming on HBO Max. If you're in the mood for something a bit lighter and family-friendly, you don't want to miss Better Nate Than Ever. It's a queer, positive Disney film that centers around a character named Nate Foster, a 13-year-old boy who dreams of becoming a Broadway star someday. He lives in Pittsburgh, PA, and struggles with being unpopular and not fitting in at school. I relate to that. One day, Nate's friend Livy encourages him to take a trip to New York City without his parents' knowledge to audition for Lilo and Stitch, the musical on Broadway. Chaos, comedy, and a whole lot of self-discovery ensues. The movie stars Ruby Wood, Aria Brooks, and Lisa Kudrow. You can stream Better Nate Than Ever today on Disney+. Now, if you feel like a quick weekend getaway this summer but don't feel like getting off your couch, do yourself a favor and head over to Hulu to watch Fire Island. It's written by Joel Kim Booster, who also stars in the film alongside SNL's Bowen Yang, Conrad Ricamora, James Scully, and Margaret Cho, the Queen.
We know his name is Charlie, and he's got a dog emoji and a plant emoji and a stethoscope emoji. What a riddle.
It's a modern rom-com inspired by Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, showcasing a diverse, multicultural examination of queerness and romance. The movie centers around a group of queer friends who embark on a week-long vacation to Fire Island, a famous gay escape off the south shore of Long Island. There's a whole lot of drama, laughs, and a beautiful gay love story to experience. Also, did I mention that all the gay characters are played by gay actors? Come through Hollywood with all this diversity and inclusion. Fire Island is available to stream now on Hulu. And if you love Fire Island and want another dose of Joel Kim Booster, you're in luck because his new Netflix comedy special, Psychosexual, is available to stream now. In the special, filmed at Catch One in Los Angeles, Joel Kim riffs on everything from dining at P.F. Chang's to why he thinks cats are better than dogs. Also, he unpacks the cultural nuances of being Asian and queer as he gets older. This is clearly the summer of Joel Kim Booster, and we don't want it to end. So this is officially Pride Month, but let's make it a Pride Summer. There's just so much great content. Let's keep it going.
Thanks to Chris for giving us some awesome recommendations. We should mention you can download the Pop Viewers app from the App Store. Still to come, a star from Never Have I Ever opens up about LGBTQ representation in the world of TV.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate it. Uvalde, Texas, a small town that has become yet another landmark. How long do you think it took for all this damage to occur? Can you tell us what it was like? With our NBC News exclusive. Ms. Lester, Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Welcome back to Popstart Plus and a special Pride Month themed episode. Lee Rodriguez plays Fabiola on Never Have I Ever, a show created by Mindy Kaling featuring a diverse cast navigating high school. Rodriguez spoke to us about what the show's storytelling gets right about the coming of age experience.
What do I think Never Have I Ever gets right? They get it right in the sense that being in high school, you don't always see like young girls, wanting to have all of these different experiences as far as like sex and like dating and also in high school, like you're figuring yourself out a lot. I know with Fabiola, like in season 1, she was coming to terms that, she was gay. And so I feel like that's something that's very accurate and a very big, experience that a lot of young queer teens have.
I'm gay.
What does it mean to play Fabiola? For me, it means a lot because I see a lot of myself in her. Like she's just like, she's got a lot of layers. She's got the whole awkward teen going on. She's queer. She's like a woman of color. She has like this best friend group that, she's always like ride or die, always down to like for whatever. But playing her, I feel like there was this one experience that I had. I went to this event and there was this young girl and she told me how much it meant to her, like seeing an awkward teenager in high school, and just said that like she really resonated with that, like being tall and being awkward within itself is like a whole experience. So just playing her, I guess I never realized how many different people would see themselves in Fabiola, and so it's awesome and I love it, and I've loved playing her.
I'm gay. I'm sorry that I didn't tell you sooner. I honestly just realized.
Don't you dare apologize to me.
Really?
I love this for you. And I love this for me. Finally a gay friend. It really fits my brand as a theater wench.
For season 1, Davey has this idea that they need to get boyfriends, that they need to start dating and lose their virginity. And for Fabiola, it wasn't ideal because she didn't really know if she wanted to have a boyfriend. She tried out the whole boyfriend sitch. Was weird. Very weird for her. And then she sees this beautiful, gorgeous girl named Eve, and she starts having a crush on her. And so it makes her question her sexuality. And so season 1, she comes to terms that she is gay. And that's great. We love that for her. So season 2, you'd think that things would get easier after you come out, but the reality is, like, she had way more questions than she did answers. She was trying to fit in to pop queer culture, and she just doesn't fit. And I feel like season 2, it just goes to show there's no one way to be gay. There's no wrong or right way. It's whatever you feel. And so that's what I really loved about her journey in season 2, coming to terms that she can be a robotics geek and, support the LGBTQ community. And so you can do it all. But yeah, I feel like it's important because it's just real. It's real life. It's realistic. Well, I constantly got the question after Never Have I Ever came out. It's like, oh, are you really gay? Are you just pretending to be a lesbian? And I would constantly see people assuming my sexuality. And so it would always like kind of bug me because I would be like, well, do I not look like somebody who would be queer? Like, am I not a valid queer person? And so I kind of just came to terms, and also like, playing Fabiola kind of also helped me come to terms as well that it is such a relevant thing. Like, there's no one way to be gay. And you know what? Sometimes you don't even have to come out. Like, it's all up to you. You can come out, you cannot come out. It's whatever makes you feel comfortable. And so I'm so thankful to have, played Fabiola. But I feel like I've learned a lot, and it really helped me be able to make that post and feel confident enough to do so. And so, yeah, it's a really big moment for me. Yeah, I mean, I get DMs and comments all the time saying how Fabiola's, like, the character Fabiola inspired their coming out and inspired them to, come, was their gay awakening. So that's pretty awesome. That always means a lot because I do bring a lot of my own characteristics to Fabiola. And so it also allows me to feel less alone too. But yeah, season 3, a lot of great moments. Yeah, you're gonna see her come into her own. There's gonna be a lot of surprises. A lot of surprises in the 3rd season. Specifically with Fabiola, a lot of things that people did not expect. So that's all I can say. But it's gonna be awesome.
Our thanks to Lee, and you can watch Never Have I Ever on Netflix. Season 3 will premiere in August. Up next, the great love for the Golden Girls within the LGBTQ community.
It's a can't-miss summer on Today.
They are walking strong, elegant, and pretty easy to prepare.
How to cut costs on your vacation? Vicky has the answers.
Every single thing you need for the best summer yet.
Only on Today.
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this? We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? My name is Lester. Who's this?
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to our special Pride Month Pop Start Plus. The Golden Girls holds a special spot for so many of us, especially those of us in the LGBTQ community. We spoke to the founders and attendees of Golden Con, a convention held this year for all fans of the show, and we learned how watching Blanche, Rose, Sophia, and Dorothy on screen has helped others find their chosen families.
Is his name David Price? Right? David Price, why don't you come on up? I think he has something to tell you all.
Well, I decided back in, I want to say December or January I was going to propose, and I wasn't sure exactly when I was going to do it. He had talked about going to Golden Con. We'd already decided to go, and I went onto the website and I sent him a contact information thing saying what I wanted, and asked if they could possibly help me.
Yes. As you know, you were born when I was first watching the Golden Girls. And I never dreamed that all these years later you would pop up and love the show as much as I did. Yes. So we've talked a lot about walking out that house today. I hope someday we will. Yes. So in the meantime.
And then when he put a box, I knew, and then I instantly lost it, and I just cried. And it was very cliche, but I cried.
The proposal being definitely one of those wow moments. We were obviously creating a space and an experience for people to be seen, to be heard, and to celebrate the things that they're passionate about.
I have been a Golden Girls fan since I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and the significance of that show for me is not only is it entertaining and it's funny and it's well written, but you can find yourself within one of those 4 characters. But for me, I feel like the show is a safe place for young gay people. That show is just means so much to me.
I think one of the reasons that people become lifelong fans of the Golden Girls is because there are separate layers that you can discover at different phases in your life. You know, whether it's you just enjoy that quality time that you have with a parent or grandparent or sibling, or as you become older, you begin to understand the humor and it's just funny. And then as you become even a little older than that, you realize you can intellectualize these are characters who are going through major life changes, that are finding their identity, that are finding their chosen family. And for the LGBTQ plus community, that rings so true for so many.
I think Golden Girls has lasted so many years because it's touched a chord with LGBTQ plus members, and myself being one of them, because it's a family that's created, not blood relatives. And I think we can relate to all of them.
There were no positive gay role models on TV. The only gay people on TV were people dying of AIDS, or we were, stigmatized as being these awful, degenerate people. So that was a really big deal to me to see something positive on TV, in the late 80s.
I think what stands out to me the most about the episodes of the Golden Girls with these LGBTQ issues is you can love who you love, no matter if it's a man or a woman, and always be true to yourself. And that's what they did.
Oh, look, I can accept the fact that he's gay, but why does he have to slip a ring on this guy's finger so the whole world will know? Why did you marry George? We loved each other. We wanted to make a lifetime commitment, wanted everybody to know. That's what Doug and Clayton want, too.
One of the moments that stands out especially is Sophia explaining to Blanche, they're sitting in the kitchen by themselves, and Sophia explains to Blanche that, that Clayton, Blanche's gay brother, simply just wants to love his partner and have that love be accepted and to care for each other and to live out their lives happily.
I'm quite amazed that fans are still touched 30 years later about my performance, and it's a very effective and humbling experience to have them come up and tell me what that role meant to them at the time when they were 16, 17, 18, or a young person, or an older person, or a 30-year-old man or woman, saying, because of that, and I find it hard to believe, and now I find it very humbling to believe. And as I go to say that the Golden Girls were all gold actors, extraordinary talents, and the writing and the producing and the directing. So this was a very classic show to do, and to have this kind of response all these years later.
It's a chance, if you go to a con, to actually get to know them. I mean, I got to know a lot of people because they would want to tell me why Golden Girls was important to them. You never know in your lifetime what's going to, what you do that will resonate 35 years later. I'm so pleased and proud to have been a part of it, and it was a tremendous honor. I was actually working with one of my icons.
For the LGBTQ folks who were at the event, it was definitely a moment to let their freak flag fly in that sort of specific way.
At the end, I knew instinctively down into my DNA that the Golden Girls connected with people. I mean, it's connected with me since I was a child. I underestimated exactly how much, because we were saying goodbye to folks at the very end of Golden Con, and people had tears in their eyes. And I am not known for making people cry, so I was shocked by that. That I was proud to be in any way associated with something that came off as beautiful and inclusive as it was.
Thanks to everyone involved in that great conversation. Coming up, the stars of the Queer as Folk reboot.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world, because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
It's a can't miss summer on Today.
They are walking strong, elegant, and pretty easy to prepare.
How to cut costs on your vacation? Vicky has the answers.
Every single thing you need for the best summer yet.
Only on Today.
Today is now a podcast available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Today. We got a lot to celebrate on this Wednesday morning. It's good to have you along with us.
You don't know when your moment's coming, but when it does, you take it.
Everybody's good, and that's it.
It's a can't miss summer on Today.
They are walking strong, elegant, and pretty easy to prepare.
How to cut costs on your vacation? Vicky has the answers.
Every single thing you need for the best summer yet.
Only on Today.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back to our Pride Month Pop Start Plus. Recently, I had the chance to speak with the stars of a new reboot of the groundbreaking show Queer as Folk. Chris Witherspoon mentioned it a little earlier as one to watch this month. It first hit the airwaves in the UK back in 1999. Then a year later, the show premiered in the US, running for 5 seasons on Showtime. Now it's back in a new form. The cast and creators are calling it more of a reimagining.
I think you should clean up your last mess before you start a new one.
Queer as Folk is back, starring folks who are proudly queer.
If I don't get a B or at least like a cheeky little C+, then my mom's not going to let me audition for drag school tonight.
We sat down with 3 of the show's stars. Devin Way plays Brody.
Why did you want to be a part of this show?
It's just because, you know?
Jesse James Keitel is Ruthie.
There weren't necessarily a lot of trans women represented in either of the previous iterations of the show.
And Finn Argus stars as Mingus.
I'd never had the opportunity to play a queer character before, which is wild. So this is my first time representing my own community.
How much did you all hit it off when you first met?
Best friends.
Yeah, I mean, it was instant love.
It was instant love.
They were all too young to watch the originals.
Do you really want me to stay? Yeah.
The UK version that premiered on Channel 4 in 1999 is the American one that debuted on Showtime in 2000.
In other words, for Justin to live here with you, he has to deny who he is.
Both series were about a group of gay men and their friends and families. The new cast is well aware of how rare it was back then to have shows with LGBTQ storylines front and center instead of on the side or nowhere at all.
You know, we got big shoes to fill, and we definitely haven't approached it lightly.
The original American version was set in Pittsburgh, while this new one is in New Orleans. The cast features some well-known actors like Kim Cattrall and Juliette Lewis in a series that reflects modern queer life.
So you're seeing a lot of trans characters, you're seeing non-binary characters.
Looking around at the friend group we've made on the show, it feels like my real life friend group.
How important is it to tell these stories right now?
It's absolutely 10,000% necessary.
It's really important to see characters like Brody and Ruthie and Mingus on TV because we're facing a lot of real life backlash.
Devin recalls one of his favorite scenes when Finn's character Mingus performs in drag for the first time. He was watching it with his straight best friend.
He's never seen drag before. The second Mingus started performing, he literally started screaming, "Let's go! Let's," and got so excited.
Finn, what do you think when you hear that?
I'm actually emotional. I never thought that I would be able to represent myself in this way.
The show does not shy away from real-life headlines. In the first episode, a gunman opens fire inside a gay club. It's a tragedy reminiscent of the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando. Pulse survivors were actually consulted for the show.
It gives us an opportunity to look into the healing process and the rebuilding of a community after an experience like that.
The 4 of us are talking right now 24 hours after the elementary school shooting in Texas. What was going through your minds when that happened?
I spent my morning looking at those 4th graders' faces. I'm completely overwhelmed.
As hard as it may be, this reimagined series strives to tackle tough topics and painful realities head on.
What do you hope viewers are going to take away from the show?
I hope viewers take away that their community is out there.
It was so great to chat with all of them. We should mention you could find Queer as Folk on Peacock, part of our parent company, NBC Universal. Check out this next conversation right here on Pop Start Plus.
Okay, you guys know Bowen Yang from his hilarious sketches on SNL. We could watch The Iceberg ahead a million times.
We watched, by the way, I think we did watch it on the show
did.
at least 500,000. And you know, Matt Rogers' first breakout performance and Showtime's, I love that for you.
Oh my God, we love that show. Together, these two, by the way, who are best friends, create comedy gold. First grabbing the attention on their hit podcast, Las Culturistas, and now starring in a new movie. It's called Fire Island, a Pride and Prejudice-inspired rom-com. Take a look.
Don't you even think? Do not pass on this icon.
No, the defense is wrong.
No, the defense is wrong.
No.
No.
The defense is wrong.
And Joe Pesci, how do you know?
And she goes,
Can you just talk a little bit about Fire Island? Because people don't.
hilarious.
First of all, if you're living around the country, you're like, what? Where's Fire Island?
Yeah.
What is it?
Uh-huh.
Give me a quick little synopsis.
Fire Island is a barrier island off the coast of Long Island. It's a wonderful vacation destination. It's been close to a century like a refuge for a lot of queer people. And the movie takes place there, and it's a modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice, written by and starring our very good friend Joel Kim Booster, one of our other best friends.
Yeah, truly, the three of us are pretty much best friends, and just being able to do this together, and you know, the stand-in for the Bennett family is this chosen family, and we go through. It's a really faithful adaptation, actually. So I think you would love it if you love Pride.
You're an Austin head.
You're gonna love it.
There you have it, our special Pride Month edition of Pop Start Plus. It was my honor and pleasure to bring it to you. We'll see you next time right here on Pop Start Plus.
Hello, everybody out there watching Today in 30 on Today All Day. Hope you had a great weekend. Craig's with me this week. Hoda's enjoying time off. Are you ready for some Today in 30?
Always happy to be here with USG. Always happy to see our Today in 30 family as well. In fact, a lot's happened since we saw you on Friday. Of course, the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade just ahead. Complete coverage on the intense reactions, what could be next from the High Court, and how all of it could impact the midterm elections.
Yeah, in the meantime, it was another weekend of chaos at our nation's airports. Thousands of additional flights canceled. So what can you expect if you're flying this week? There's a long July 4th holiday weekend coming up. We've got everything you need to know before you head to the airport to make things as stress-free as possible.
All that plus a very special guest joined us on the plaza. Mr. Happy Face is his government name. He was just crowned the adorable winner of the ugliest dog in the world contest. Trust us, he's gonna put a smile on your face.
And while Hoda's out, we've got Justin Sylvester filling in as Jenna's co-host on the 4th hour. He brought a special edition of everyone's favorite segment, The Scoop. So let's do it. Let's get right to
Today in 30.
We'll start with NBC's Blaine Alexander in Atlanta for us. Blaine, good morning.
Well, Savannah, good morning to you. In some places, that change was immediate. Clinics across the country either shutting their doors or stopping services as the court's decision came down. In other states, they immediately started putting change in motion. Here in Georgia, the Attorney General has asked a court to allow a law to take effect that would reduce abortion access from 20 weeks down to 6 weeks. And of course, all of this comes as we are seeing nationwide protests, people either celebrating or mourning the court's decision.
In every corner of the country, emotions spilling into the streets. Anger and fear facing relief, joy, all responding to the end of Roe v. Wade.
The feeling of just total despair.
We have gained protection for the most innocent members of the human family.
Some weekend protests turned violent. In Arizona, officers used tear gas to break up protesters at the state capitol. And in Rhode Island, a police officer running for state senate was arrested after allegedly punching his female opponent during an abortion rights rally. He has since pulled out of the race. At an abortion rights protest in Los Angeles, viral video shows Full House actress Jodie Sweetin pushed to the ground by police officers. The LAPD says it is aware of the video and use of force will be evaluated. Following the court's decision Friday, at least 10 states immediately restricted abortion access, with many banning the procedure altogether. including Alabama, where at the Women's Center in Huntsville, Dalton Johnson had to break the news to women already in the waiting room.
What was it like in that room?
It was just raw emotions. It was everything from people that were upset, angry, people breaking down, crying.
In Arkansas, where abortion was legal up to 20 weeks, doctors now could face up to 10 years in prison for performing the procedure. The only exception, life of the mother. At least 3 more states shut down services with the law still unclear. But at least 16 states and Washington, D.C. have laws protecting the right to an abortion. Among those states, Illinois, where over the weekend, President Trump took a victory lap on his conservative court appointments at a rally with Republican House member Mary Miller, who made these controversial comments.
I want to thank you for the historic victory for life in the Supreme Court yesterday.
Miller's campaign says she misread her prepared remarks and meant to say right to life. The pivotal Supreme Court case originated with this Mississippi abortion clinic, where this morning women are still attending appointments. State law allows 10 days before it has to shut down. Tyler Hardin runs Planned Parenthood in the state.
You have appointments in these next 10 days, keep those appointments and make those appointments.
And this morning, we are getting a new look at just how Americans feel about the court's decision. A new poll out this morning from NPR and PBS NewsHour shows that a majority of Americans, 56%, say they oppose the court's decision. Savannah?
All right, Blaine, thank you very much. That sets the table for our next conversation with NBC's justice correspondent Pete Williams. And Pete, the Supreme Court has spoken, but that is not the end of the legal challenges.
No, and in fact, they've already started in the states. Planned Parenthood is challenging the trigger law now in effect in Utah, saying that even though the Supreme Court has ruled that there's no right to abortion in the U.S. Constitution, the right is nonetheless protected by Utah's state constitution because it provides greater family-related legal protections and guarantees of personal autonomy. There's a similar suit in Florida. It says the state's privacy laws protect the right to abortion. And the courts are going to have to answer some other questions. For example, can a state make it a crime to travel to another state to get abortion services, or can it ban advertising or counseling about how to get those services where they're legal? And do the banning states have to allow exceptions for rape, incest, and protecting a woman's health?
I'll add one more. Another big question is over abortion by medicine, the abortion pill, as it's called. Some states may want to target that medication.
Well, and already have. In the states that ban abortion, it is illegal to get those pills from a doctor. And some states are trying to go further and also ban receiving the pills by mail from a state where they're legal. The Biden administration says the states can't do that because those pills are approved by the federal government, and the courts will probably have to decide that, too.
Well, and it also raises the question, when you look at this decision, that it dismantles the legal underpinning of Roe versus Wade, but does that have an application to other cases, for example, gay marriage or contraception? Clarence Thomas, in his concurring opinion, said yes. Do you expect those issues to come up before the court in the future?
I don't see them coming quickly, but the reason for the question is that Friday's ruling says there is no constitutional right to abortion because it is not deeply rooted in the nation's history and tradition, and certainly same-sex marriage and access to contraceptives would flunk that test. So Justice Thomas says the court should take another look at them now, but the majority in the ruling said 4 separate times that it was only about abortion and doesn't threaten those other rights. So about all you can say is that they appear to be safe, at least for now, Savannah.
All right, Pete Williams, thank you very much.
All right, now we turn to the potential political implications here. What impact will the overturning of Roe v. Wade have on the crucial midterm elections now just 4 months away? Our chief White House correspondent, Kristen Welker, joins us from the Bavarian Alps, where President Biden is in the middle of a quick trip to Europe. So, Kristen, before the president left for Europe, we heard him talk about the Supreme Court's decision, essentially putting abortion on the ballot. What does this potentially mean for Democrats in the midterms?
Well, good morning, Craig. The battle over abortion is creating a remarkable backdrop to this G7 summit. Democrats who were bracing for major losses in the midterms see the abortion issue as a way to energize their voters and potentially hold on to more seats. Now, President Biden has directed his administration to protect access to things like contraception, as you just heard, and the abortion pill. But look, he acknowledges his powers are really quite limited in this space. And before he left for Europe, as you said, Craig, the president did call on Congress to make abortion legal at the federal level. That's something that Democrats right now aren't even close to having enough votes for. So the president's also urging voters to elect candidates who support abortion rights. The challenge, though, for Democrats is balancing their message on abortion with other really pressing issues for voters like soaring inflation, high gas prices, and of course the reality check here, Craig. It could take years for Democrats to make abortion legal at the federal level again, if it happens at all, Craig.
So Kristen, with Democrats hoping to use this decision to energize their base, to galvanize their base, how are Republicans navigating this issue going forward?
They say it's a motivating issue for their voters, too. In fact, a number of Republican lawmakers cheered the news over the weekend and also insisted there is more work to be done. They are calling on Congress to ban abortion at the federal level. So that's the other side of the coin. But the challenge for the GOP is convincing those voters who were motivated by overturning Roe, some of them single-issue voters, that the fight really isn't over. And there's a larger internal debate within the Republican Party. You heard Pete talk about this and Blaine over just how far to push limits on abortion at the state level, with some states already passing laws that ban abortion with no exceptions in cases of rape and incest. And this is really interesting. According to the New York Times over the weekend, former President Trump, who of course appointed those 3 conservative justices who made this all possible, has publicly hailed the ruling, but he's also privately expressing concerns this could hurt Republicans at the ballot box. Now, a source close to Mr. Trump would not comment on the report, but he told me overnight Mr. Trump sees Roe as a complicated political issue, putting Republicans in uncharted territory. Craig?
Our chief White House correspondent, Kristen Welker, traveling with the president at the G7 summit. Kristen, thank you.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months. Exactly. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world, because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
It's a can't-miss summer on Today.
They are walking strong.
Elegant and pretty easy to prepare.
How to cut costs on your vacation? Vicky has the answers.
Every single thing you need for the best summer yet.
Only on Today.
This morning, new travel trouble at the nation's airports, heading into what is expected to be a really busy 4th of July holiday.
Yeah, it is. NBC's Sam Brock is at Miami International, where a number of flights were canceled, number of flights delayed over the weekend. Sam, how are things now?
Hi, Greg. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Relatively calm, speaking for a Monday right now, but I'll say this. If you felt like the last several months it's been nonstop travel madness, that's because it has. And right now what we're looking at this morning, according to FlightAware, is 670 flights canceled in the United States, 1,400 plus over the weekend, guys. It may just be the calm before the 4th of July frenzy.
On the heels of another weekend of travel turmoil, those hoping for a smooth flight are finding themselves at a sudden standstill.
I got here, I was probably about 150, 200 person in line, and I can't even see the end of the line now. I'm stuck.
The line of passengers waiting to speak with an airline agent at Miami International, longer than this hallway.
We got the message to book another flight. We went to book another flight. There was nothing.
At Hawaii's Kona International, a panorama of pain in paradise. It even took Anthony Morris more than 24 hours to go from Charlotte to Houston midweek.
They told us the reasoning why it was delayed was because they didn't have enough flight attendants.
The staffing crunch coming as the long 4th of July weekend is on the radar, and air travel is predicted to be near a pandemic high. More than 11 million passengers expected to depart from U.S. airports. Experts say the holiday rush leading to even more headaches.
To put it in perspective, over Memorial Day weekend, we saw about 25,000 flights delayed, and we're expecting to see the same or more over 4th of July weekend.
The turbulence, jet fueled by soaring summer demand and compounded by carriers dealing with staffing shortages at all levels. Most critically, pilots, cabin crew, even ground handlers, including air traffic controllers. The trouble behind the scenes, creating a nightmare for many looking to get away.
As you look around, what do you see?
Chaos.
These families at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport waiting 90 minutes or more just to check their bags.
Even if you wanted to change your flight on a Saturday morning at Atlanta's airport, the line to see someone is about 2 hours long, at least.
If I get to my destination in Portland, Maine before midnight tonight, I will be pleasantly surprised.
To dodge a travel doomsday, travel pros advise booking a nonstop flight, even if it's pricier, and traveling earlier in the day, helping avoid a chaotic chain reaction as delays and cancellations pile up. And if you're forced to rebook at the airport, find the fastest help by pulling double or even triple duty while waiting in line. Stay close to the agent desk, try to get someone on the phone, and use the customer service chat feature online, all to prevent fireworks at the airport before the 4th.
We've been looking forward to this all morning.
All right, after a 2-year break, the world's ugliest dog contest returned over the weekend, with hopefuls from far and wide gathering together in Petaluma, California.
Okay, but when all was said and done, there could really only be one winner, and it was Mr. Happy Face, a 17-year-old Chihuahua mix. And right now, we're so happy to welcome him to our plaza along with his owner, Janita Benally. Did I say your name right, Janita?
You did.
Well, I mean, how is Mr. Happy Face taking this newfound fame?
I'm not sure that it's been fully realized. I think he had his first airplane ride, which was really exciting. Aww. And this is quite possibly the most people that he's ever seen.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's all in good fun. I always feel kind of bad because we're sitting here saying it's the world's ugliest dog, but you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. How did you get involved in entering him into this contest?
So it's actually a really strange story. I wanted something different to do for my birthday. I'm not from Petaluma, I'm from Arizona, and I was just in town, and I reserved a chunk of time to mix and edit a radio show that I'm piloting for youth empowerment called Indigenous Youth Nation. Yeah. And we had, my niece had said, we're going to be there and you should enter Mr. Happy Face. Oh. And I was like, no, he's too beautiful. Oh. His soul is too beautiful.
He'll come in last place.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought.
Where did you get Mr. Happy Face?
So I adopted Mr. Happy Face from a shelter, and he came from a hoarding situation, and where he was very badly abused and neglected, and it took a long time for him to feel okay with human touch.
And how old is he? He's 17, right?
17 is what I was told.
17 years old. The name itself, Mr. Happy Face, how did you land on that?
I landed on Mr. Happy Face because when I met him at the shelter, I asked to see the most unadoptable dog. Okay. After my first choice had been already adopted. And I had already made the drive. So he came hobbling out. And he was so happy. Like he looked happy, like you don't see it now, but he has this enormous tongue that is almost as long.
Is it
oh no, this is not it.
Oh,
really? This is a sample.
Oh, it's like an iceberg.
Yeah, so this is a sample. But it's
an iceberg, you only see the tip of it, I get it.
Underneath is a whole other tongue situation. But Mr. Happy Face beat 8 other pups. What do you think it is about Mr. Happy Face? Is it the mohawk, the enormous tongue, the head tilt? Like what was it at the end of the day?
I think it's that he has this incredible capacity to show so much love. And I think that that's really what came through, is that the world it can be ugly enough. Yeah. You know, and so if we can just add a little bit of like kindness and compassion, then we can just make this whole world so much more beautiful.
You have a lot of love too. I love that you went in there and said, show me the unadoptable dog, and said, that's going to be my pet. You're amazing. Thank you so much. Really appreciate having you here.
What do you win?
So we actually won a trip to be here at the Today Show.
Oh, let's go. Okay. All right. Let's go, Mr. Happy Face. Look at that smile. Thank you so much, Janita. Thank you. Appreciate it.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
Today is now a podcast, available every morning. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months. Exactly. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now. The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months. Exactly. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
It's Motivational Monday, and this morning we are shining a light on a beauty company that is on a mission. They aren't just protecting skin, they're also saving animals.
Farmhouse Fresh Organics and Naturals outside of Dallas, Texas is a $40 million skincare business that has gone to the dogs and horses, donkeys, sheep, and goats.
Our motto is we do rescue for two. We rescue your skin and we rescue animals in need. And both of those are very powerful things.
We like the tough cases because it brings out something in you every day to come and know that you're helping an animal to live again.
Sisters-in-law Shannon and Delia McClendon run the company on this 10-acre sanctuary for abused and neglected farm animals.
I want us to be able to be living on the land where we're growing ingredients, where the corporate office feels more like a home, and we can rescue animals, and anyone there could take care of them. Sorry, that's where we are today. Our accounting department can look out the window and tell us, guys, a horse is limping. I mean, it's this kind of multifaceted, beautiful community.
Shannon started the company in 2005 with a foot scrub she made for her own cracked runner's heels. It was a hit that made it onto Oprah's favorites list 2 years later.
I had not really developed any skincare up to that point. I just knew that I loved it. Since the year that I started selling, the company would just grow hand over fist.
After Delia joined in 2009,
love it.
The company took off, and as a thank you to clients around the world, they sent out Christmas pies.
But we said, okay, we just spent almost $20,000 on something that can be eaten. And at that moment, we all agreed. We were like, never again.
They started their mission big, but with small animals, emptying the Dallas shelters with a rescue drive the following Christmas.
That's where this began, and it was all custom. We were part of every aspect of creating it to make sure that as we would grow, it would be our soul.
And then along came Granny and Shadow, the first donkeys at the new sanctuary headquarters who were rescued from a slaughter truck.
These animals who have been discarded and who've done nothing wrong. They are the most loving, deserving, wonderful creatures.
In addition to carefully crafting these cosmetic formulas, Shannon and Delia have also become experts at large animal triage, as many sanctuary residents began to arrive emaciated and sick.
Come on.
Elise Kahn is the sanctuary manager who works with a team of 5 vets for the 38 animals on the property.
What a good boy.
These elderly draft horses need extensive care from years of overwork.
Good job, everyone.
The sanctuary rescued these sheep last summer after they were found hogtied in a car trunk.
When we first got them, they wouldn't let us pet them.
And worst case scenario, Harvey.
We got him and we encountered something we never had before, which is he was so aggressive, no one could handle him.
Elise worked with Harvey for the better part of a year, even after he bit her.
We have such an appreciation, too, of the people who care for the animals every day. And oh, do I need to bring a baby goat in diapers home? Absolutely, I'd be happy to do that. So there's just that inherent love of the mission.
He's just such a sweetheart now. That's our Harvey boy, huh? Love you.
And now she can give him hugs. So 10% of Farmhouse Fresh profits, about $400,000, are set aside for animal rescue each year. The brand is carried in 4,000 locations, spas, and resorts, and a tag on the bottom of every jar and bottle will introduce you to the animal that's being saved.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that nice?
Oh, beauty
a lot
with
of money
purpose.
being saved for the animals, which is fantastic.
Thanks, Steve.
The midterms are here. It's time to plan your vote. We'll provide everything you need to know to successfully cast your ballot. Just select any state you want to learn about for the primary or general election, and you'll instantly get voting rules, see the next big deadline, and learn how to take action for your plan. Voting rules have changed since 2020, and those rules vary from state to state. So it's time to get planning for 2022. Visit NBCNews.com/planyourvote today.
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
Hallie Jackson Now. Weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate
Top Story with Tom Llamas. Weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Welcome back on this Monday. Justin Sylvester is my co-host, which means we get a special edition of The Scoop. You're live. You're here. I can touch you. Okay, so there's huge breakup news in the Kardashian family.
Yes, Kendall Jenner and her boyfriend Devin Booker broke up.
Wait, I didn't even know that. I thought she was dating Harry Styles. No, that was a long time ago.
Okay. Well, she kept this one under wraps for 2 years because she said that she was trying to protect the relationship. But now we're hearing that they broke up because their careers were going in a separate direction. But I think I have another theory about this.
What is it? Tell me.
So you know when you go to a wedding?
Yes.
And you're either at a wedding with a guy that you've been dating and it makes you want to either marry that person or break up with that person? I think Courtney's Italian wedding kind of gave her insight to what the relationship was lacking.
Oh, you think she's the one that dumped him?
I think it was a mutual decision, but I will say this. I just went through a breakup myself. The first person to throw up a thirst trap.
Wait, excuse me. That you just dropped to some.
I'm gonna go ahead and skip over that.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna go ahead and skip over that. The first person to throw a thirst trap on Instagram is normally the person who got broken up with.
Okay, who posted?
Kendall Jenner just posted this to let this man know what he was missing out on. Do we have that photo? Can we show it on daytime TV? Sun's out. Buns was out too, honey.
She posted that
on IG.
Are you allowed to post a full back nude?
If you're a supermodel with 100 million followers, I think you can.
Yeah, you can post whatever you want. Oh my gosh. Okay, we teased it earlier, but you have some Game of Thrones news?
Okay, I hated the way Game of Thrones ended.
Everybody did, right?
Everybody.
I mean, I didn't finish it. I'm somewhere in season something, so don't tell me. But anyway, I heard that there weren't rave reviews.
There weren't rave reviews because people thought it ended terribly. So now we're hearing Kit Harington's character, Jon Snow, is getting a sequel. And George R.R. Martin, the guy who created it, said that it is happening. It was Kit's idea, so you're going to get more Games of Thrones.
Wow. Do you think he's doing that because he wants a better ending?
I think he's doing it because he wants a check, and I don't blame him. Okay?
Yeah, I know. If you want to go to Saint-Tropez, you got to keep getting paid. Okay, finally, there's a new show that everybody's talking about. I cannot wait to see this.
Okay, you guys, the summer I felt pretty. Look at this. You have to see it.
My family spends every summer in Cousins Beach with my mom's best friend and her 2 sons, Conrad and Jeremiah. They've always seen me as a little kid. But this summer,
See you guys later.
it's different.
Boys might come and go, but a best friend is once in a lifetime. Really wish you were here.
Ellie, you don't know the effect you have on people.
How do you know when it's the right person? You'll just feel right.
Wait.
Okay.
It's a love triangle.
It's a love triangle.
Teenage love triangle.
It's a teenage love triangle. It's with 2 brothers. It is going to be the craziest show of summer because everybody has that summer where they felt like they turned pretty. Am I wrong?
Did you have that summer? When did you turn pretty?
2 summers ago. Definitely came into my own.
I'm actually coming
2
back. I
summers
feel
ago.
like that's what feral girl summer means for me. Right now, age 40. But I love that, and I love a love triangle. Justin, I love you the most.
Man, it's a lot. Good. Tomorrow, we got a lot more.
Guess who's going to be here?
Who?
Steve Carell.
No.
Yes, and bringing some of his Minion friends along with them. Cannot wait.
I love Bob.
I know.
I love Kevin.
All right. We'll see you then.
Smells so good.
Oh, it smells like pastry. What are you doing? Can we not put your face in the dough? I'm glad it's just us eating it. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Dylan Dishes, Cooking with Cal. I can't wait to take a look back at some of my favorite Cooking with Cal segments and offer just a few of those tips and tricks that didn't quite make it into the original episode. In today's episode, we are all about apples. Everyone in my family loves apples, and I use them in so many different recipes in so many different ways. Just ask Ollie. I love taking the boys apple picking. I don't know why. It ends up being one of the most stressful days. Somebody has to go to the bathroom, somebody's hungry. There's no parking because the apple orchards are so crowded outside of New York City, but I am determined to always take the boys apple picking. I just think it's fun. Once you kind of go along that row and there's nobody else around for a little while and you pick the best apples, you kind of sneak a bite here and there. And the best part is I make so many different things with apples that I love bringing a big bushel of apples home and just seeing what we can do with them. For anyone else who went apple picking recently, here are 2 easy ways to use up all those apples. First up, my crunchy apple salad. Cal has a list of the ingredients you'll need for this recipe. So let's go through the ingredients, okay? What's in our apple salad?
Apple.
Try again, not zucchini.
Salad?
So close.
Celery.
Celery. And what are these? I think you know.
Cranberry.
You've been snacking on those since we started. Do you know what this is?
A nut.
It's a walnut.
Walnut.
And then you know this one.
Yogurt.
Lots of vanilla yogurt. So this apple salad is a perfect after-school snack. It's a good breakfast. It's just a good, all-around, nice, healthy alternative. How's the yogurt doing? Do you want a spoon? Gross. Help me with the apple. Let me cut it up into a smaller piece for you. You are actually eating all of my ingredients.
No, not that many.
Chop it up nice and small. You're doing a lot more eating than cooking. What's your favorite fruit?
Apple. throwing it because it's raining hard.
While you do that, I'm going to chop up the celery.
Okay.
I like to make the celery really small.
Why?
So that it's not too hard to chew. So Ken, when I was little, I used to eat this all the time, every single morning for breakfast.
Was that a long time ago?
It was a long time ago. Even when I first moved to New York, I used to eat it all the time, every morning for breakfast.
Really? That's weird. Mix it up.
Yeah, mix it all together. All right, what should we put in next? How about some of these?
Yeah, cool.
Sprinkle those all in there?
I can pour it.
Okay. Perfect. And now let's chop these up a little smaller. Just rock your knife back and forth. Look at how small I made these.
Whoa.
So now we got all our ingredients in here, right? And here's the fun part. There you go.
And this is the medium one or the biggest one?
What, bowl or spoon?
Spoon.
That's the small one.
I have to lick it off.
Did you have to lick it off?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because there's yogurt on it.
So you can add as much yogurt as you want. It's not really a measurement here. It's more just once everything is all nice and combined. Sometimes I'll add blueberries in here.
Oh, I have to lick it off.
Oh.
I just eat it off.
So that's it. Super simple, right? I usually make a big bowl of this and then just scoop it out in the morning, or you can divvy it up into little Tupperware containers and it's good to go as a grab and go snack.
Are we done?
That's it. That's all we have to do.
Are you gonna taste one?
I'm gonna taste one too.
A taste test?
It's a taste test.
Which one should I use? Is it healthy?
It's very healthy.
Up next, we are taking apples from sweet to sweeter with one of my favorite fall treats, apple dumplings with a homemade caramel sauce. You don't want to miss this.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now. For breaking news in our changing world, download the NBC News app.
To cover the news, you have to be in it. These are families trying to board those trains to Poland.
I also want to get home.
You'll get home. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Yamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Let's go. This is a critical choke point for this fire. And good evening from New Orleans. Nice to really spend some time with you. Appreciate
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
We're here to start conversations about the big things happening in our world. Because it's not my job to tell you what to think. My job is to think about what you tell me.
Now Tonight with Joshua Johnson, streaming weeknights at 8 on NBC News Now.
These days, it feels like the news never stops. So let's get into it. What's happening right now, what it all means for you for an hour every day. It can be hard to keep up, so let's get started together.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
Hallie Jackson Now, weekdays at 5 on NBC News Now.
We'll meet Ukrainians who are defending their country one block at a time. When you were still in Kiev, could you hear the bombing? Hey, Miss Lester, hey, who's this?
What would you like to see from the federal government to keep Buffalo safe? If there is legislation brought to you to ban contraception, would you sign it? What should be focused on that could reduce inflation and avoid a recession? If it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press.
The day's biggest political stories with trusted insight now and expert analysis now. A daily look at the politics behind the headlines. Meet the Press Now, streaming weekdays at 4 p.m. on NBC News Now.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
It's a can't-miss summer on Today.
They are walking strong, elegant, and pretty easy to prepare.
How to cut costs on your vacation? Vicky has the answers.
Every single thing you need for the best summer yet.
Only on Today.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Women's basketball has been systematically held back. After 49 years of Title IX, we still have work to do.
In Their Court, a podcast from NBC News and NBC Sports that goes inside the issues of inequality in women's sports. Listen now.
It's a can't-miss summer on Today.
They are walking strong, elegant, and pretty easy to prepare.
How to cut costs on your vacation? Vicky has the answers.
Every single thing you need for the best summer yet.
Only on Today.
Welcome back to Dylan Dishes Cooking with Cal. Today's episode is all about using a favorite fall staple, apples. Next up, Cal and I are making apple dumplings with a homemade caramel sauce. This recipe takes a bit more time, a bit more patience, but I promise it's worth it. I first saw this recipe in Better Homes and Gardens' new cookbook. So here's how to make one of my favorite fall treats.
There are a lot of steps, but it's still pretty easy, okay? There's only 3 things. We need the caramel sauce that goes on top. We've got the apples that we're going to fill with this little filling, and we're gonna wrap it in pastry dough. So let's get started.
Yeah. This is a hard apple. There we go. That's a nice apple.
Let's add the water. You can't eat everything. Pour in the sugar.
Mom?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna do half this cinnamon, not all of it. So I'm gonna bring this up to a boil, and this is gonna be our caramel sauce.
We still have some things to
You ready to make the filling? All right, what do you think those are? Walnuts.
Walnuts.
And what are those?
Raisins.
Raisins. And we're gonna add
honey.
About a tablespoon of honey. This is gonna be our filling for the apples. Dump the salt into the flour.
All of this salt?
Yeah. Do you know what this is?
Mm-mm.
What do you think it is?
I don't know.
This is called shortening. You wanna make the shortening look like little bits of peas in here.
What happens if we eat it?
It would taste disgusting. Ready? Like press it down and twist. There you go. Press and twist. Press it hard. All right, now we're gonna add the half and half.
Now can I pour it? What are we making?
Apple dumplings, remember?
Oh, yummy.
Yeah.
It's a dessert.
It is a dessert.
When it's done, can I eat one of it?
Of course.
And you?
Yes.
Smell it so good.
Oh, it smells like pastry. What are you doing? Can we not put your face in the dough? I'm glad it's just us eating it. All right, here we go with our dough.
Oh no, we make the hole.
No, don't make a hole.
Why?
Because no more holes, no holes. I need you to start here and end all the way over here. Nice. Put the apple here. I'm gonna fill it. Can you take a little bit of this?
This is our standard hiding spot.
A little cinnamon sugar. I'm gonna pour this sauce over the dumplings. Carefully. Do you love it? Okay, so if you want to make this apple dumpling recipe right away, you might be thinking I don't have an apple core like I used, but there is a way you can just cut right through the apple. It's tedious, I'll tell you that. In fact, I held off making this recipe until I ordered one of these. Wherever you get, kitchen supplies, it's an easy order. Just wait a couple days until it gets there. But if you don't have patience, just be careful. And I wouldn't recommend doing this part with the kids because you need a very sharp knife and you literally just have to cut around the core of the apple. So make sure you go all the way to the bottom. This is probably the worst part of the whole recipe, is coring the apple. Sure we get to the other side. My kids eat a lot of apples, and whether I'm slicing them or dicing them or doing whatever it is with apples, there's just no good way to get the seeds out. But this works pretty well. Okay, so you can either do it that way if you don't have patience, although I think this way is the way to go. So this is what an apple core does. Basically the same thing the knife did, just in all one big swoop. Kind of get it in there. Twist it, pull it up. And there you go. That was easier, right? So I'd recommend just holding off a couple days on this recipe and wait till you get your apple core. Because that's perfect. So to core the apple with a knife, you want to make sure you use a paring knife. They're nice and sharp, they're tiny. If you use anything bigger, I feel like you're going to cut the whole apple up. And a steak knife would just never work for this. So get yourself a paring knife too.
For all these recipes, go to today.com/DylanDishes.
I'll do the chocolate chips.
No, I want to.
No. Fine. Yay. Let's pour it at the same time, Alexander. 3, 2, 1. Whee!
My name's Alexander Charbonnet, and this is Kids in the Kitchen. My name is Alexander Charbonnet. I'm 7 years old, and I'm in 2nd grade. I started cooking when I was 5 for my mom and my dad and my sister. I started my cooking channel 2 years ago when I was 5.
Hi guys, hi friends, welcome to my show. Kids Can Cook with Chef Alexander. We are making banana muffins with no egg, because I'm allergic to egg.
My egg allergy makes me sad, but I'm more sad because I can't eat stuff like other people. Because of my allergy, I can't eat cookies or donuts or like cakes or like a lot of stuff. My mom is awesome because she makes eggless stuff like cookies, cupcakes, and regular cakes. But my mom and I bring treats like cookies without egg to school with me so I can enjoy it with my friends. My little sister has a peanut allergy. She can have like peanut butter and jelly, so I feel like she's special too. My mom was the one who taught me how to cook. My favorite part of cooking is I get to spend special time with my mom cooking. My favorite hobbies are playing video games, riding my bike, riding my scooter. I also really love dinosaurs. Here's a fact of some dinosaurs. Did you know that the Allosaurus doesn't have serrated teeth, and it actually uses a jaw? He opens his mouth and he slashes his upper jaw into its prey like a hammer.
We are making chocolate donut cakes. So we have this flour, so we're gonna dump it into the sieve.
I want to be a pastry chef because I'm already a pastry chef. I am so excited because today we are making eggless Trini macaroni pie, and blender muffins with apples, bananas, and carrots. First, we're gonna start with the macaroni pie. Here's everything we need to start with. We got butter, we got olive oil, cut up onions, onion powder, garlic powder, black pepper, flour, mustard, cheese, salt, but we also need elbow and and milk. First, we're gonna make the cheese sauce. First, we're gonna melt the butter and the olive oil over medium heat. Now the next step where you need to add the onions. Make sure you cook it for a few minutes because we don't want the smell of the onions to make us cry. The next step, you need to add the flour and you need to make a roux. A roux is fat mixed with flour. You need to whisk it so it doesn't give that raw flour taste. That would taste horrible. This is what's gonna thicken the sauce since I'm not using egg. Now we need to add the milk to the pot, but make sure to add it slowly because we don't want it to spot all over the place. Now we need to whisk it until it's fully incorporated. Next, we're gonna add the mustard. Now we're ready to put in the spices. We got our onion powder, the garlic powder in, and the black pepper in. And the salt, let's put in the salt too. Bubbling, it looks like lava. This is what we're looking for. I wish you guys can smell this, because that really smells good. Now for the best part, we put in the cheese. Now we're going back to mixing. The sauce looks like this. This is a little hot, so you know who I need? Mommy! Almost there, up. It's important to incorporate the pasta into the cheese sauce. We're gonna put in a greased baking dish and then we're gonna top it off with cheese. This looks great. Now we're just gonna add some cheese on the top. I need to pop this in the oven, so I need to call Mom again. Mom!
Oh, it looks good. Okay, I'm gonna open the oven.
Okay. Thanks, Mom.
Oh, no, thank you. Good job.
We're gonna let it bake for 25 or 30 minutes. This looks awesome. It wouldn't be complete without my favorite person. Yeah.
We come from a long line of foodies in our family, a long line of cooks, and you're just carrying on that tradition by continuing to be one of the chefs in our family.
Live from Ukraine, from Uvalde, Texas, from Mayfield, Kentucky. To cover the news, you have to be in it. This is how so many towns and cities are protecting themselves. You can actually see they're pushing the gates open. Was there a school officer on campus? That's what we've been told. No. Do you remember any tornado as bad as this one? You look at this and you're thinking, we're not going to have power for weeks, if not months. Exactly. Every night, it's your news playlist.
Top Story with Tom Llamas, weeknights at 7 on NBC News Now.
Sometimes the news can be difficult and overwhelming for kids to understand.
Ukraine and Russia. Could you help me understand what's going on?
So to help make sense of it, we've created a newscast just for them. We hope your family will watch Nightly News Kids Edition.
Now we're gonna make one of my favorite recipes, blender muffins without egg. They have apples, carrots, and bananas. But to help me, I'm gonna have my sister, Natalie. Come on. Bling. So we're gonna introduce yourself, Natalie.
Okay, so my name is Natalie, and I'm going in kindergarten soon. And my favorite food is fruits and vegetables. I'm 5. And I'm Alexander's sister. My nickname is Peanut.
And her nickname's Peanut, but she has a peanut allergy. But this also has no eggs, so it's...
Isn't that funny, guys?
Now we have this big mixing bowl. So now we're gonna put in all our dry ingredients.
Let's start with the flour.
Put in the brown sugar. Up, flop. Up, there's still some. Up, there you go.
Put it back.
Now we need to put in the white sugar.
Now
we
we
put in baking
soda.
powder, and
My
now
turn.
let's put in baking soda.
Now let's put in some cinnamon, like for cinnamon rolls. Let's make blender muffins. Mix up. Agitate around.
Okay.
Your turn.
Now we need the blender, and now we're gonna ask Mom for the blender.
Mom.
Now we're gonna add the apples, the carrots, and bananas to the blender. Let's start with the apples.
Yeah.
Plop.
Plop. Time for carrot time.
We're gonna put in the carrots.
And guys, in case you know, these are for our bunnies, but we use them for baking now. Let's put the banana peel right.
Break it in half and then put the other half in. That might be smart.
In a float. It looks weird.
Wonder.
I'm trying to get the ones on the back. Maybe we should do it together. Let's mix and agitate, agitate, agitate. Let's mix and agitate. Let's do that.
Now let's add.
I'll add the butter.
Vanilla and let's do it. 3, 2, 1. Wow. Wow.
I'll do the chocolate chips.
No, I want to.
No.
Fine.
Yay. Let's pour it at the same time, Alexander. 3, 2, 1. Whee!
I'll do the... Wait, the oats. Ooh, this looks good. Now we have our muffin tin.
Yep.
We get to spray our muffin tin. Yeah, we need to do it 3/4 way full. How about you scoop it and I put it in? These are ready to go in the oven now. And now let's get Mom. Now it's going to take 18 to 22 minutes. Bye, we'll see you on the next step. Oh my gosh, they're done. Now we have to call Mom. Mommy. Some of them are small and some of them are ginormous. Oh my gosh, I just want to gobble them all up in my mouth. These have been cooling for 10 minutes, so they're ready to eat. Again, you did awesome, John. High five. Teamwork makes the yummy dream.